you.
All the music.
All the sports.
All the news.
And all the podcasts.
AUDACY. Odyssey.
Station.
Now the playoffs on 92.3 The Fan on Sunday. The AFC Championship game, New England at Denver. The Patriots, 3-point lead, under 2 minutes to go in the game. First down, and it seals the deal for New England. Drake May took it upon himself to take care of business for the Patriots.
So 3rd down and 7. May under center, back on a play fake, rolling to his left. May is going to run to the outside of the sideline. He's got the first down. Drake May picks up the first down, and that may be the play that sends the Patriots back to the Super Bowl.
Kersey Westwood won. New England hangs on to win it 10-7. May passed for only 86 yards, but he ran for 65 and scored the game's only touchdown for New England on a 6-yard run in the second quarter. New England reached the Super Bowl for the first time in 7 years. In the NFC title game, Seattle knocks off the LA Rams 31-27. Sam Darnold passed for 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. Seahawks reached the Super Bowl for the first time in 11 years. Super Bowl 60, Patriots and Seahawks, Sunday, February 8th, right here on 92.3 The Fan. Reports of the Browns expect today to meet with Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaus in Los Angeles about their head coach opening on Saturday. Browns did talk with former Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn, who had been a running backs coach for the Browns back in 2007 and 08. That means today's interview will have the Browns in compliance with the Rooney Rule. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next, time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The afternoon drive.
It's already a wonky search, and with the way it's gone, it feels even wonkier. And maybe that's how a guy like Grant Udinski rises from. And maybe this was a year where you had a Vrabel and a Ben Johnson and a this, that, and the other. But I mean, don't we kind of have it now? We had Harbaugh. I think McDermott becomes somebody of interest to a lot of teams.
Yeah, it should be an interest for us.
We're just in a really weird space where I'm trying not to overreact because I don't think it's appropriate yet. But I can't tell you I'm not concerned about where this thing's going.
Well, with McDaniel out, I don't know that there's a head coach outside of McDermott now that they could name that would leave you satisfied.
We're settling from here.
The afternoon drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
2nd down and 4, ball at the 6. Trips left, single man right. May in the shotgun. He's got the snap. He's back. He's going to run it along the right hash and into the end zone. Touchdown, Patriots. So 3rd down and 7. May under center, back on a play fake, rolling to his left. May is going to run to the outside of the sideline. He's got the first down. Drake May picks up the first down, and that may be the play that sends the Patriots back to the Super Bowl. The New England Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. The Patriots win the AFC Championship, beating the Denver Broncos 10-7.
Shotgun snap, 4-man rush, crumbling pocket, throws, caught 5, diving in, touchdown, Cup, touchdown, Seattle. Sam Darnold has just thrown his 3rd touchdown pass. Shotgun snap to Stafford, sets in the pocket, plenty of time, winds up, throws to the near sideline, caught 50-yard line and out of bounds. Nakua, the clock at 1, to keep the clock going, it's over. It's over, Seattle has won. The Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy of Westwood One. Hello.
Hello.
Let's just have the knockdown drag out right now. Start off on Monday. Let's do it.
Let's
just
about?
do it because I got agitated right before the show. You're gonna work me into a shoot right before we start. I mean, right as we start this week. Weather's bad, and we're giving away Cavs-Lakers tickets coming up at 8 a.m. this morning for this game Wednesday night. Cavs-Lakers tickets, 8 a.m.
Could it be the last time you ever see LeBron James?
It could be the last time LeBron James ever plays in the city of Cleveland. Competitive NBA basketball. It could be the last time, 8 a.m. I don't like being accused of doing things that I didn't do. Now, I understand that there are plenty of people out there who say Cleveland media and rope us all in. There's not much I can do. But if I can defend myself, I'm going to defend myself. Like, I don't know what Daryl did on Friday, but there were I woke up to a bunch of people, and then it continued through the weekend. What you were saying about Andrew Berry Friday, I go, I wasn't on the air. There is a distinct difference between Daryl's voice and my voice. So I don't understand what you think that I was saying on Friday. I didn't say a damn word on the air on Friday morning. There wasn't a word said. I wasn't on. So I carried that all throughout the weekend, and then the culture wins thing got brought up again, and I go, I never, believe me when I say this, I never once said ever that wins at the end of the season carry over. I never said, and at least this year, I never, ever said that. Ever. And I'm being accused to say, well, I'm glad we won those last 2 games. I mean, you see what Drake May did. I go, I didn't say that it carried over. I don't know if it'll carry. I don't think it will. You got a new coach. How can it carry over?
Did you say if Stefanski would have been preserved, if he would have been the head coach, that what was the argument you were making at the time?
No, there was no argument. I didn't make any argument.
We were screaming at each other over something.
Honestly, it was because Shedeur said it was because their culture was good. And your thought was, as I remember it, how on earth could he think the culture's good when you're at that time 4-12? They finished 5-12.
Yeah.
How on earth could their culture be good when they were 4-12? I think he said after the Pittsburgh game, like they won because of culture. And you and I fought about the culture thing, and then somehow I got accused of saying that it's going to carry over. And it never happened. It never passed my lips. I swear to God on my dead mother, it never passed my lips. I never thought it, never said it. I just said, well, if everybody's given up on the coach, and it looked like they had, and there's nothing else to play for, well, there has to be some sort of a culture to go out there and beat a team that's playing for the playoffs and playing for the division title, isn't there? Isn't there? And I just got smoked for it, and I don't understand why. And it happened again because the Patriots, they finished with 4 wins, even though they won against, they beat with 2 weeks left to go in the season. And they could have got number 1 overall, and they would have taken Caleb Williams, but that's neither here nor there. They still ended up with Drake May. Actually, that's here and there. It's all part of the thing. They still ended up with Drake May, and the whole argument was, well, I'm glad that the Browns had those culture wins. And I go, there's no Drake May in this draft. There's no Drake May in this draft, and they won with 2 weeks left to go in the season over in New England. It doesn't compute. Why do I wake up at 3 a.m. and get hammered for something I never actually said? I'm getting hammered for saying that and then you started with me before the show, and I'm going, I never said any of this. Well, it never came out of my mouth that they're going to carry over, and that's going to be part of it.
The side that I think is fairly obvious, and I totally agree with you with, is you can't with guys actually on the field and a coach who's very proud, like Kevin Stefanski, who was he auditioning for his next job? Maybe you could argue that. Maybe Atlanta was watching really closely on the Browns and whether or not they gave up on their coach the last 2 games of the year. They did not. I don't know if maybe he took that with him, that goodwill. Maybe that was earned. But you can't tell any of the players or the coaching staff, like, hey, it'd be preferable if we lose this game. That's just not ever how the NFL would work. A tank, the only way you can truly tank is if you come out and the injury report is 30 wide, and all of a sudden a bunch of guys are not playing that easily could have played.
You decide to put Tevin Jenkins in out of nowhere.
I know Schlesinger did not play the final game of the year, and I don't know.
I thought he was hurt though.
Yeah,
he was legitimately hurt.
He looked banged up. Kenny, he looked banged up the last 5 games of the year. But you needed the way everything unfolded. I mean, when you look at all the weird results at the end of the year we got, up and down this league. It happens all the time in Week 18. So it's tough to tank out the Week 18 or, 2 straight weeks to end the year. It's just really tough to do that. So I agree with you there.
Then why am I getting yelled at?
I think you're getting yelled at because people resented. I did not. I celebrated with you. People resented the celebrating of the wins. And when they asked, who cares about these wins?
I celebrated the Steelers win. I just accepted the Bengals win.
What did they get us? Was the question.
They didn't get us anything. But did we do Super Bowl? We probably did Super Bowl, Super Browns. But again, it was probably out of...
We did it after
sarcasm.
Pittsburgh.
We did it after Pittsburgh, but we did it. I cannot tell you how many guys Super Bowl, Super Browns is done out of sarcasm. It started in sarcasm, And the whole thing about it, and I just keep saying, it's like, guys, they went 1-31, and they now drafted the fourth best quarterback in the 2018 draft. They went 1-31. They had the number one pick, and they drafted the fourth best one out of that draft, number one overall.
What'd you think of that argument yesterday? I saw a lot of people. Some were saying that's the real reason John Dorsey was a bad GM or was fired or any of that.
No.
And I'm like, well,
because it still would be better than what we're arguing.
What would Sam Darnold? I know I've made the case that, like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes would have been great here. But the other quarterbacks, I don't know. Josh Allen had such a rough start to his career. Sam Darnold had such a rough start to his career. If you go through all these different, quarterbacks, would it have worked out eventually? Do you have a belief that Sam Darnold would still be here today had they have taken him number one overall?
Can I ask you something?
I don't.
No, absolutely not. No. Well, would they have picked Freddie? Because that's why I think John isn't here. It's because they picked Freddie. Had he not chosen Freddie, and I think that at that time, God, I hate the playoffs because this is just what we end up doing. When we're not in it, we just go over how things went wrong. Had they not had taken Freddie, I think that the ownership, I almost know, but I think that the ownership thought, what are we doing wasting this year with Freddie? This is a total disaster. This is a total organizational failure. Why would John accept Freddie as the head coach? Why on earth do we do this? We got to get this thing back on track as soon as we possibly can. And I think that they felt we have no years to waste after we just went through that, and it became a wasted year.
And who was Freddie's first game against?
Tennessee and Mike Vrabel, which was actually something I said and was the worst take I've ever made on the air in 17 years and 18 years in radio. It's the worst take I've ever had on the air. Worst. Number one was that Freddie was better than Mike Vrabel going into that game. That was true orange and brown colored glasses. And I somehow you wrote me into it, but I'm going to blame myself. I'm a big boy. I can speak for myself. And I said I'd rather have Freddie Kitchens than Mike Vrabel. And that was the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life.
Now, Vrabel did get fired.
Okay. And he became a head coach again at any place he really wanted to, which wouldn't have been here, at any place he really wanted to.
Hey, Freddie got to join forces with Bill Belichick.
Freddie will never be a head coach. He will not have
a free Browns helmet.
Freddie might be a head coach again in high school or something like that. He's not going to get the pick of the litter the way Mike did. Okay? He's not going to get the pick of the litter the way Mike Vrabel did. So I'll call it. It's that I said, and that was the dumb. Guys, I have no problem owning up the dumb things I've said in the past. That was a dumb thing. I own up to it. It was the dumbest thing I've ever said on the radio, ever. Ever. But here, I was like, I never said that these wins are going to carry over with Shador or Dylan Gabriel or Deshaun Watson. I never said any of that. It never came out of my mouth. And there was, what you got me really going before the show was like, well, you kind of insinuated. I go, no, there was no insinuation. I either would have said it or I didn't say it, and I didn't say it, and I didn't even insinuate anything.
Well, if anybody wants to go back to the videos,
please.
It's all out there.
It's all out there. It's there for everybody.
What'd you think of Blizzard Ball yesterday?
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I didn't see your social media post, so I don't know if we're going to get many calls today because everybody's white-knuckling because there's going to be the weather's terrible. The roads are bad. ROADs are terrible.
I think I got to give it up to ODOT. I thought 90 on the way in. I thought it was going to be a train wreck. I thought it was fine.
The east side, it just keeps getting pounded. So, you're doing the best you can. At one point, our mayor, he posted, he's like, listen, he goes, it's coming down too fast. We're at a shortage of salt anyway. We're not going to throw anything down. We're just going to push the snow around until it actually has a chance to lighten up.
It's good communication.
I went out there early yesterday and snow blew while it was still snowing because I was like, I don't want to stress the motor out too much. Like if it's 2 feet of snow, you can get through it. But if the auger, you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to.
3 snow blowers, so I don't have to worry about it.
So you get to pick the type with the wet snow, a dry snow.
16, 14, and 12.
Wow, he gets to keep them on in rotation if he really wants to. Now I got one, and
they live upstairs in my house.
Oh, those are the ages. See, I thought that those were the inches. I didn't realize. I thought that was the wide. I was like, 16 inches.
No, it's time to get those boys on the driveway. Yesterday was a culture-defining moment for the Carman household.
No, it
stick with them.
They're all sick. The whole house is sick now. I got sick on Friday, probably thanks to Tone. Kids had the flu earlier before us. I got sick on Friday. And then I got sick on Thursday, headed into Friday. So I got to sit there and have the sniffles. But it was an online Glazer clinic, so that was cool. We'll talk about that later. And Liz, I think, finally woke up with it this morning. And I went, oh, God. Because she's the worst of them. That'll be 2-3 weeks minimum.
That'll be all January.
Yeah. That finishes out January right into the next time I'll probably kiss her is on Valentine's Day. That'll probably be it. I'm serious. She gets sick, and she's sick for long swaths of time, and I feel really terrible about it. I know I don't look like it if you're watching on YouTube, but I don't feel good about it. But I enjoyed it. I know you wouldn't, and you didn't. I'm sure you did. I didn't see your post, but I'm sure you didn't. The AFC Championship game.
Yeah, so look, I mean, we were deprived a legitimate game anyway because Bo Nix. Like, how many quarterbacks do you think would have beaten New England yesterday on Denver with as well as Denver's defense had been playing? I feel like there's 30 quarterbacks.
No.
That could have won that game.
10. You would power rank the quarterback? No, don't do it.
There's too many.
Don't.
I think there's too many.
Okay.
Because you just needed a guy who wasn't going to make that mistake that Jared Stidham made. That was all you had to do. And you needed Sean Payton.
What about the mistake, Sean?
The two-handed, they ended up calling intentional grounding.
Pass. Yeah, but what about
a total disaster?
What about not? I know that Tony Romo waffled, but why did you not kick the field goal to make it 2 possessions?
That throw that he made to Mims.
I don't understand.
One throw.
I don't understand how you don't kick the field goal to make it 2 possessions.
I don't either. Now, if Bo Nix was playing, okay, go for it on 4th and 1, whatever.
Even then, the weather's bad. I'm playing more possessions than points.
I was saying the same thing too. Just kick it. You're up 10-0.
The weather wasn't. You could still see the field at that point, though.
But did they know what the forecast was going to be?
I don't know.
Because I think that's a huge. And by the way, Evan Washburn did not ask Sean Payton. In the tunnel, he called him a class guy, and they had a quick chit chat. Did not ask him.
I looked at the map. I pulled it up on my phone as we're getting snowed on. I thought, maybe they're at the tail end of this snow. No, that snow was all the way down in Mississippi.
So your point is that
there was a Denver snow bubble. I don't know if they knew it was happening or not.
So your point is, before we go to break, AFC Championship game sucked.
I thought, yes. Compared to the NFC game had all the intrigue. Teams could actually move the football. Guys were making plays. The athletes were able to be athletes. That other game, we were just giving up on 3rd down, both teams, in the second half.
I disagree. I'll tell you why. 216-474-0092. Daryl Ryder, 820. Your chance to win Cavs tickets coming up at 8 o'clock. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Cavs, Lakers tickets. LeBron coming back to town Wednesday. You can win tickets to that coming up at 8 on the Fan.
Anthony Lima for Van Scoy Hair.
LegacyTech.com.
There is a crash on 480 west of the Valley View Bridge. Free-flowing traffic northbound on 77 from Jet to 90. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Whenever you need to talk about the Browns, we got you covered. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Was the first game boring? Was the AFC Championship game boring? 216-474-0092. I don't think it was. It is an outlier. It is because it's going to turn into like, was this a test? Was this the best test of everything? And part of what makes football played outdoors. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you were Denver, you're looking at this going, well, we're getting a stadium with a roof on it, if I'm not mistaken. Aren't they getting a stadium with a roof on it?
This feels
I think
like
the entire AFC West going to play under a roof at some point.
I don't know that theirs is finalized yet. Like the Chiefs is done. They're at the point to where they know they're moving. I don't know that Denver's is. They've said officially they're done, but that's what they're talking about. It's a dome.
Yeah. I think that would probably be the lament of a lot of Broncos fans. Well, that they were playing, at least we'll play under a dome after all this, even though that is, outdoor football is, and we've argued about this for 3 years now, and we'll continue to do it, is that's part of the ambiance of it. And is that you're in a cold weather city.
Would you have thought that was cool? Because I saw so many people going, this is cool, the optics of snow. And I'm like, well, we've had so many weather games in the playoffs this year. I don't know that I needed to see another one. Now, that one was an outlier, you're right, because it was... You could not see the yard markings on the field.
I'll tell you this.
In the late third, into the fourth quarter.
Well, even the last two drives, the lines weren't even straight anymore.
I'll meet you part of the way through. Now, because they showed the side-by-side at Gillette Stadium, and Jim Nantz asked Tony Romo, who didn't seem to be prepared for any question ever or the game or anything, but whatever. Kind of made you miss Phil Simms a little bit there.
Wow.
Because I'm like, at least Phil would be prepared for questions. Like Jim Nantz asked him a question, he's just, oh yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? What are we doing here? What are you like when we joke with each other about certain things? Like, stop working on your charts. Was he working on charts?
Yeah. What was
Kenny? Stop looking at your mentions. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right. I'm having a fight with people. I'm having a fight with Evan on the internet right now.
Location.
Yeah, he's putting together his next golf
and
trip.
I'm just going, what are you doing? Like, they showed the side-by-side of Gillette, and I'm thinking, well, Colorado, from what I know, Owen could tell you better. He was in the Air Force. Colorado is a much trickier weather pattern. You don't know when the weather's going to be good,
whole mile
bad.
high up in the air.
If they would have played at Gillette, it's like, they probably would have been okay. Like, the snowstorm would have been bad, but they would have been ready for everything. They knew it was coming. So while there would have been, a foot and a half of snow, they would have been able to dig out of it as best they could, and they probably would have dealt with it as best they could. Well, this situation was kind of not uncalled for, but it did seem to be a little bit of a surprise, even though it's January.
Yeah, I told you before the show.
Plan on something like that.
I told you for the show, Colin Cowherd said maybe they should have thought about pausing the game for an hour, like you would a baseball game. Which that would have been net. I mean, look, you're spitting your drink. I guarantee the Broncos fans like, yeah, whatever, anything. Well, can we also get rid of Stidham and put a normal quarterback in?
That's part of it. See, this is where my issue is. My issue is as much of weather is that, did you forget who your quarterback was? Because I understand that in part of the narrative that was going on during that game, and they were right, is like, I think the nerves were gone with Jarrett Stidham. They trusted him more as the game went on. But I'm thinking you're still in a game where now the weather's starting to play a factor into it, because I thought the weather was playing a factor into it at the end of the first quarter. It's like, okay, this is probably not going to stop. So now you're going to have a real struggle going on. And you have a chance where you can't focus as much on points as you have to focus as much on possessions. Your defense is doing a good job. And then you give up a stupid touchdown because you decide to do something silly after you did something silly, like not making it a two-possession game.
And who knows?
You end up losing 10-7. Now, we can say, we wouldn't know, but...
Drake May was pretty panicky in that first half. That Bronco defense was ferocious, and it's just down 10. Who knows? Maybe he gambles a little bit more. He's known for the strip sack, so maybe he's out there trying to be a hero. But it's very different. 7-0.
He threw for like 80-something yards.
It just felt like during the game. Now, again, if Jarrett Stidham would have pushed the ball down the field, and they had two chances of field goals, I understand that. The one with Will Lutz at the end of the first half, and then another one later. But it just seemed to be so perfectly playing into Mike Vrabel's hands where, okay, they go down, they get a field goal instead of 6. You took 9.5 minutes off the board. Yeah. So all of a sudden it shortened that game up so much where now you go from possessions to, I might only have 2 or 3 possessions left instead of what it was before. So now everything's going to count here. And yeah, I understand. Like you had a chance, you didn't make it. I get that. But when you make it when you could have made it a 2-possession game, in the game where they turned it right around on you and then shrunk your possessions, I think that shows you just maybe somebody got a little bit too aggressive there, and that person was Sean Payton.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he made a big mistake.
I still probably would have thought, because it's Bo Nix, I still probably would have kicked the field goal. But I still thought, and here we are breaking down the game, I still thought it was a test of the psyche of the coaches and what they wanted to do.
Yeah, so make no mistake.
Mike Vrabel let it play right into his hand.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I thought he outcoached him.
Yes.
But again, it's easier to outcoach when they've got their backup quarterback in who hasn't played in 3 years or whatever it was. So the odds were stacked against him to begin with when it comes to that. I'm not saying, the result or the outcome was in any way marred because of the weather. I just think watching the game, seeing teams just give up on 3rd and 8. You don't see that in, championship style football. Throwing the ball away instantly or running the football on 3rd down. Even Tony Romo's like, that was a give up play. They're punting and playing field position. But the problem was both teams were doing that. And I'm like, all right, now we're being deprived of a normal football game by the weather.
But then I think it puts more of a test on the coaches. I think it puts more of a test on the chess game that goes on with guys you can't control. And so I think it makes it that much more interesting. I know that people want to see guys, quarterbacks go down the field. They want to see that test. I understand that.
It's not even
it's
that,
not
Kenny.
every week that they're doing this.
The running backs were playing tippy-toe, shuffling their feet.
You said you don't see that in championship games, so that happens all the time when it becomes a ball control game in the championship.
No, there's a huge difference between, great defenses, really doing their best to limit, really good offenses. We've seen that throughout most of the playoffs. What I'm saying is, I saw a play where Ramondre Stevenson was pretty decent yesterday. He fell down right away, and then Drake May tripped over him, and I'm like, this is a comedy show. This is not actual football.
Yeah, the Patriots didn't have to do anything, though. They knew that the Broncos weren't doing anything on offense, and the Broncos, until they missed that or that field goal got blocked, were actually, they had the advantage in the possession game, right? Because they could just punt it back down. Mm-hmm. But it's championship football. You don't exactly go all out and throw bombs every time.
I'm
right?
not even saying a bomb. Weather. I'm saying on 3rd and 8, both teams were neglecting trying to even pick up first downs. And I'm like, that's where you lost me. I watched that, the like everybody else, we watched the shootout, and that's what it became. And that was, to me, so much more entertaining. And not just because they were beating the defenses. No, the defenses still got big plays. There were big sacks. There were big run stuffs. But you had quarterback play that was capable of getting the ball down the field. That wasn't even part of the object of either team in that game. And I guess I would just ask, is football the one sport where the fans, and this, I asked this on social media, like, is this why the NFL is king? Is that it doesn't matter what the product looks like. It doesn't matter if it's crazy back and forth. It doesn't matter if teams are slipping and falling on each other. Fans will walk away like you two and say, that was great football.
Because I don't think it was bad football.
So what is bad football? What is bad football
I think there's
because that to me was
20 to 30 college football games you could see on a Saturday where they're scoring all over the place and people are going, this is great football. No, it's not.
Okay, but in the NFL where there are only 32 teams and the talent is pretty similar between all of them, what would constitute a bad NFL football game if it were in the weather like that?
I sat up there and rooted for the Browns to beat the Steelers. That wasn't great football. I didn't think it was great football. When you see dumb decision, and this kind of goes into your place, I thought it was stupid football where, and to take words away from Ernie Adams, where you don't take advantage of opportunities to make it a 2-possession game. Stupid turnovers, stupid penalties, pre-snap penalties, things like that. That's what I think is bad football. When I watched that, I thought that this was
I think there's no optically, there's nothing for guys like you two. You will walk away and still say, well, there was still coaching, there was still field position. There was still time stuff, which is going to come with any NFL game, and you'll say,
no,
that was still awesome.
No, because it was too. I think it's well. First off, you have a great point. Second of all, I think it. Let me explain it. It's two of the best. You're in the AFC Championship game. So Sean Payton isn't an idiot all of a sudden, even though I disagreed with the decision that he made. You have two of the best teams, two of the best coaches going after each other, and then you add in the elements. So then you make things even that tighter for these two football teams. I think it was a test. I think that you've seen games where good football or bad football teams play in bad weather, and because it snows, there's an ambiance there. There's a fun, a Norman Rockwell type of painting to it, but it's not great football. Like, I can admit the weather was lousy against the Steelers. I was happy that the Browns won. Wasn't great football. Wasn't well played by either. I thought what the Steelers did was dumb, and I thought the Browns did just fewer things that were dumb to go ahead and win that football game. I can admit that wholeheartedly. I totally believe that. But in this game, I thought it added that much more to it. I don't think that we were denied some dramatic shootout, because if there was some shootout, I'd have been very surprised if it were Jarrett Stidham. No offense to him. I thought he did the best job he could. I'd have been very surprised if there was a shootout between Jarrett Stidham and Drake May.
So if that would have been the Super Bowl and that was the weather for the Super Bowl, would you guys have walked away going, man, that was awesome?
Was Jarrett Stidham still the quarterback?
Drake May had worse stats than Stidham did, so he's still the quarterback.
Yeah, I think you were coming in with a disappointment factor anyway going into the game because there was no Bo Nix, so that makes it even worse.
100%. That's definitely.
When Mike Vrabel knows that it's Jarrett Stidham on the other side and not Bo Nix, he doesn't have to do a lot of other stuff.
216-474-0092. Coming up at 8:20, Daryl Ryder going to join us on the show. 8 o'clock, your chance to go see the Cavs and Lakers coming up on Wednesday. 8 a.m., we'll have a code word for you. You could win tickets to go see Cavs, Lakers. And don't you want somebody who just wants you? Because I think we could get an offer today. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work in the free Odyssey app.
Car Wash.
480 east from the Turnpike to Lee is clear of accidents, as well as 90 east from 611 to Euclid Avenue. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Listen to 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn app.
Guys, I'm getting a stealing feeling. I think today might be the day.
Browns are going to have
a
whole football coach to themselves?
I think we might get ourselves a football coach today. I'm getting
Wow.
a feel. Well, at least there might be an offer made to a football coach today. Getting a stealing feeling here. Now, depending on who it is, we'll see how you guys feel about that. I got a feeling it's going to be maybe the third choice out of the three that people...
Well, who are the three?
Well, it would be Udinski, Schwartz, and Shieldhouse, right?
Well,
Wouldn't it be down to them?
Which one's first, second, and third?
That's up to you. That's up to the listener.
Well, you said it'd be the third choice out of the three, so which one is it?
Well, you know what? That's a great point because I don't think we've talked. I said on Friday, or excuse me, I said on
You didn't say anything
Thursday.
on Friday.
That's
'cause
right.
On Friday,
oh
I
my
had Daryl
gosh,
and
you're
Nick
right.
Padone.
I said on Thursday that the reason we hadn't talked very much about Nate Shieldhouse is because of his history. And that if I were to sit here and beat the table over Nate Shieldhouse, I think a lot of people would look right through it. I think that we're probably going to have a offer by the end of the day today. I have a feeling, I have a sneaking suspicion. It might be him. Little older, pass game coordinator. Anybody who works with coordinator or works with quarterbacks, they're going to like. They're going to like him. That's why I think Udinski has had a lot of. But Udinski has been here. He was here all day Saturday, wasn't he? Here all day Saturday, Friday or Saturday? Friday, I think it was. He was here all day, like 9 to 6. So maybe it'll. Yeah, but I think today's the day. I think today's the day we get ourselves an offer. We finally start to put an end to this.
Do you have one that you prefer over the other?
Honestly, no. No. Between Shieldhouse and Udinski? No.
Yeah.
Why? I would say that's probably a terrible thing for me to say because I'm supposed to have a pick, supposed to choose, but neither have called plays, so I can't. When I say that I think play calling's overrated, but I think it just makes it harder. Like if one guy had an offense that you could see right there on television every Sunday of what he was doing, then you might feel a little bit better about it, or you could make an argument. Because I don't see it, then all I can do is go by back channels and phones and conversations, and obviously one guy is going to have the leg up on that. That would be Shieldhouse, right? Wouldn't I know more about Nate Shieldhouse? Wouldn't you know more about Nate Shieldhouse than we would Grant Udinski?
They're both very green in terms of the NFL.
Yes.
Now Shieldhouse has only been in the NFL for one team in 2 years.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty dramatic rise.
Yeah.
So if he were the next head coach of the Browns, this is very outside the box. Like you couldn't even. What could you compare
both
this?
Both would be very outside the box. Udinski and the only one that would be in the box is Schwartz.
Yeah.
And I think that any one of these guys, Schwartz would be the easiest to me to just take in and go, okay, at least we have something that is comforting in some way. I think a lot of folks just want to be comfortable. And I think that Schwartz is maybe that guy that fans would maybe be a little bit more comfortable. I don't know how many of these guys give you a lot of hope. You know, Udinski and Shieldhouse, because you don't know who they are, I think give you a little bit more hope because you have no idea. So there's always like the lottery ticket feeling to those guys. Schwartz would be comforting. But I don't think that any of the three, I don't know, man. Maybe, again, we're in the wrong business now all of a sudden. I'm not pounding the table, screaming and yelling because I think that Schwartz will still be here no matter who they pick between Udinski and Shieldhouse. So if I still have Schwartz, I don't think I'm that upset.
Well, that was
unless he just kicks and screams and they decide to let him out of his contract. He still has a contract.
I think that's comforting, I think, to some extent, because certainly if one of these two really young guys end up being the head coach with their relative lack of experience in the NFL, that you'd like to have them supported by, veteran NFL guys who have been through it all, seen it all. And if for whatever reason this happens, then you don't have Schwartz, and now they're going outside the team and, bringing in whoever. I think that would be considered comforting.
Yes.
What if we're thinking about this all wrong and Schwartz is the guy and one of these guys comes in to lead the offense?
As far as calling plays?
Yeah. I mean, he's not calling offensive plays.
No, he isn't. Well, if you get one of these two guys, but I just think that they want an offensive guy.
It's tough because neither has done
plays, that. You're right, and everything. So you would be giving them. I mean, right now,
so
what would be
better to have them a head coach?
Well, think about it. What would be more of a risk? What would be more of a risk to you? First time play caller, or first time head coach. If you are, hear me out on this. Hear me out. I have to ask you this. Now, I don't know where I stand on this right now because this just came to my head in 3 seconds. If I got a play caller, I mean, you got to see what's coming up and you got to be able to figure out what you have with your guys. If you have a head coach and he's in an administrative role, because I can't imagine that they're going to go, okay, Grant Yudinsky, you're the head coach. Nate Shieldhouse, you're the head coach, and you'll call plays. I feel that each guy would have a play caller then that they would bring in as their offensive coordinator. Then it becomes, all right, you're administrative. You're somebody who has to give us a plan of what you want to do with your entire program for the year. You're the one who has to come up with the everyday administrative role. And that's going to be tough. I mean, Joe Thomas laid that out in that Instagram video we played for you guys on Thursday. Like, that's going to be a tough thing to do. But if you are administrative and you make the final decision on things, that might be a little bit easier to take than the guy who's doing the every single play, working with Shador or working with Deshaun or working with Dylan Gabriel or God knows who else you bring in as a bridge quarterback. Like, I'm trying to think that way. I think head coach is probably still going to be more important, certainly. But, God, we've seen it a million times. A bad play caller, I mean, he could set you right down the river Styx if they don't know exactly what the strong points of their quarterbacks are. I mean, that's the whole reason that people wanted Kevin Stefanski out, is they felt he didn't know how to handle the quarterbacks.
Boy, the play calling thing is something I think we've been on record a long time saying most of it is overrated. Not that it can't help you in a game or anything like that, but it's not overrated when we're talking about guys who've never done it. Like that is a big difference. At an NFL level.
Yes.
And so that is one thing that I look, we knew that their pool of candidates was going to be very different from the rest of the NFL. And yes, the Browns are getting ripped from basically every corner of the NFL. I saw it over the weekend. Fan base is not just like people have said the media. No, this is just fans. Like fans everywhere are like, these are your guys, which is we brought up last week. Like, yeah, that was always
these are your guys.
That was almost always going to be the case. We tried to make a case like, hey, Mike Tomlin was a no-namer. Sean McVay had called plays before, but he was an up-and-comer. But that was a very risky move by the Rams, and obviously it worked. Now, there's been a bunch of guys that have been outside the box hires in the NFL that have just flat out not worked at all. Urban Meyer, right? There have been a lot. Jim Zorn, over the years, we could go through a list of comical hires that just didn't make sense at the time and were bad. So I can't sit here today, and while I have not really questioned the process like some, I mean, I've heard Daryl, I've heard plenty on our station, plenty of people also just in Northeast Ohio, just railing on this process. Like, I knew this was always, unless they were just going to be okay with a retread, and we were just going to interview a bunch of guys who've done it before and say, all right, we'll use them as custodians of the team, stewards of the team over the next few years until we figure out who our quarterback is and then go from there.
Let me ask you this:
we were going to go with young hotshots that have some fun YouTube clips up, and we were going to pray that we found the next Sean McVay.
I think that what you have here is a team that, and Andrew Berry and I don't know how many celebrations and handstands people are going to be doing, no matter who they offer it to. But you have a team that I think has a type. I think Andrew Berry has a type. I think he wants a younger, offensive-minded guy to work with his quarterback, because I still think as much as the league's changed, it's going to be an offensive league, and whoever can work with quarterbacks the best is going to have a better shot at it.
What was with the Monken desires? What was with him getting the interviews?
I think that there's you want to see what you've done before. Remember, this was a guy who thought that the offense was bad when you had a previous head coach there and saw some of the mess that was there. Is there anything that he thinks has changed about this organization from the past now 6 years compared to where he was here 6 years ago? I mean, that's a quick amount of time has gone by that we've had this with Todd Monken. I think that they were kicking the tires on him. I'd be very surprised if it were anybody but these three guys. And I think that I have a weird feeling that today could be a day that an offer is made to one of them. 216-474-0092. I want to talk about that process here because I think you want somebody who wants you. And I think that because of the history, we're not necessarily seeing something really bad that's happened before, not too terribly long ago, where they did do it a classic way. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
It's Anthony Lima.
But don't panic. This radio station will remain open and full of supplies to keep your pigskin pantry stocked.
Isn't that playoff atmosphere right here, boy?
Hear the games this weekend. Touchdown! And get the latest news all week.
It's playoff football. We'll take it one at a time from here.
It's just football.
Rely on the home of the NFL in Cleveland. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
I think today could be the day, my friends. Today could be the day. Or tomorrow. Or when. Nah, I think today, I got a sneaking suspicion. I ain't talked to anybody in Berea, Ohio. Maybe they were driving through Berea, Ohio, but the weather's terrible. The roads are terrible. Be careful out there if you're out there.
I mean, didn't they leave? Didn't they interview Anthony Lynn in Florida?
In Florida, yes.
And now
they were able to
heading
get
out.
planes up, but that was on Saturday, right? So
now they're heading out to California.
I would hope, because
with an aching in
Stillhouse
their
had
heart.
to go to Seattle last night, and then I assume he went back to L.A. Right?
Jeez Louise. It's a lot of flying around to go out there to try to get yourself a head coach. Can I get this off my chest before we get flying with everything else? And I can say this with 100% confidence because I know you're with me on this. This is one of the fun things I know I can say, and I know you're with me. Guys, I know they had Mike Vrabel in the building for the same reasons Sean McDermott ain't coming here, for the same reasons John Harbaugh isn't coming here, were the same exact reasons why Mike Vrabel was not coming here. He was not coming here. It wasn't going to happen. If we're all saying how terrible the organization is, how disorganized they are, how dysfunctional they are, well, then you gave Vrabel a front row seat. And one team has a young quarterback that they're excited about, and at the time, whatever you want to say, even at the time, the other one didn't. So I understand that Vrabel's a local guy, and you love him, and I'm sure he grew up a Browns fan of some respect, and Vrabel's a tremendous coach, and I wish him well. He wasn't coming here. It just wasn't happening. Just wasn't happening. For all the reasons why we're not in the same conversations for McDermott or any other name that we know of. Anthony, I know you're with me on this.
Yeah, and you know, obviously there was a lot of fun to be poked over the Kyle Shanahan situation years ago when he was here. And, you know, it was always like, man, I would make, and I remember I said this, I'd make Kyle Shanahan the coach tomorrow and say goodbye to everybody else. But that's not how the NFL works. It's just not, that's not realistic. That would have never happened. Probably Kyle Shanahan would have never, he was doing everything he could to get out of town. So I don't think he was, ready to take a job like that. But in this case, first of all, I don't think Mike Vrabel would have ever done that. Like, there would never have been Vrabel orchestrating like a power struggle behind the scenes. Like, it wasn't even supposed to be a daily job. Remember, it wasn't even supposed to be anything at first. Wasn't it like a consultant role? And he was going to show up in training camp.
And then by the end of the year, he was coaching the offensive line.
I mean,
at the end of the season, he was coaching the offensive line.
That's where we were at with the whole Mike Vrabel situation. So yesterday, I saw a bunch of Browns fans, lamenting the fact that he was going to the Super Bowl in year freaking one with a Patriots team that was a utter disaster the year earlier with Gerard Mayo. And Drake May obviously took a huge step forward this year. It was just never going to be a situation where, hey, they were going to lock Mike Vrabel in the building in Berea and then fire Kevin Stefanski and go, hey, do you want to be the head coach here? We got everything running on all cylinders with you. Yeah. Like, that was never going to happen.
And I can tell you, it's just it wasn't going to go down that way.
Is it because they threw so much money at Deshaun Watson that people think that Haslam would have he could just throw $100 million, $200 million?
That's where I will disagree with you. I think that he will spare no expense to be good. I think that if Mike Vrabel, if they were to go to Mike Vrabel and say something, and Mike Vrabel's like, listen, you're such a disaster. You're going to have to pay me $100 million. I think he'd pay the $100 million. I do too. So what's the disconnect?
Is it that the Browns had spared no expense countless times, and most notably giving out such a ridiculous deal to Deshaun Watson and guaranteeing it and all that, couldn't they just do that with Mike Vrabel and just make him say no?
Well, they could have. They could have done that, but I think Mike Vrabel knew he wants to win. I mean, Mike Vrabel could make a lot of money anywhere, but when you're with your second place, like, that's why some of the guys, we call them retreads, like, no, some of these guys are really good head coaches. And their times run to an end. We'll figure out whether or not Kevin's really that bad coming up in Atlanta this year. When you're picking your second spot, you usually get one mulligan, and then you got to go to the second one, and it's really got to count because you usually don't get a third. He was going to be selective. Well, going into this year, even winter, where the way it was, you knew you were picking New England over that spot. With the flexibility that they had to bring in some guys, with the draft that they have to bring in some guys. I mean, let's call it what it is. We've had one good draft. The Patriots have been better here over the last couple of years now. So you have that goes for the Patriots, that goes against us. You weren't going to be able to get Vrabel here. So it wasn't going to go that way. So, hey, I understand you had him in the building. You've had a lot of guys in the building. You've had a lot of guys in the building just passing through. You've had John Gruden in the building visiting before for football, for television purposes. Just because they're in the building doesn't mean you're going to be able to hold on to them. And I would love to have Mike Vrabel here. I just didn't think he was coming. This is not a reason that we shouldn't have got Mike Vrabel. I just don't think he was going to be here. I don't care what anybody reports, anybody says, he wasn't going to sign up for it.
The other one I asked you before the show, I'm like, Zane fan, it's tough because people don't really measure GMs the same way we can watch a coach game in and game out. A GM just kind of puts a team together, makes a few trades, and that's it. You don't really hear from him. Heck, we didn't even hear from our GM this year.
Yeah.
So, Elliott Wolf was under John Dorsey.
We had him in the building.
And I'm not, it's not like I'm looking at his drafts. He took over that role. He had been one of the head scouts or whatever in New England before kind of becoming assistant GM and then GM in 2024.
Yes. So
is anybody going, man, I wish we had Elliott Wolf? Or does it just not work like that with GMs?
I think that, if their name's not Andrew Berry and they have some modicum of success right now, I think that name gets, I wish we had so-and-so. I wish we had this guy, that guy. I mean, John Schneider, you would drive there right now and go pick him up. Les Snead, they found a way to continue to be successful, even though they had the dearth of first-round picks. Like, you had all those going for you. But you bring up a very interesting thing. Tom Pelissero was on Rich Eisen's show, and this was back on Friday. And it was one of the things that I went, you know what? I'm glad I have a coach's clinic today, and I don't have to deal with this afternoon, because here is Tom Pelissero on the Rich Eisen show talking about the Browns' data-driven coaching search.
The Browns' search process and interview process, which they have run a number of times, is unlike any other in the NFL, and it plays to certain types of candidates. They are a data-driven operation in Cleveland, and so they spend an extraordinary amount of time gathering data on their coaching candidates. You're talking about taking a personality test. You're talking about writing an essay. You're talking about completing homework assignments going into both the first and the second rounds of interviews. It plays toward the types of candidates that they have in the mix, which is very, very smart people in a lot of cases that just often happen to be tall, thin guys who came from Ivy League schools, so that's certainly not a requirement. That's the type of candidate generally that is going to fit into a data-driven environment.
So that's Tom Pelissero on that. People went nuts because it is, and it's an easy reason why, and I don't blame you for it. Because the history tells you it's on your side. If they're because the word is they've done this a number of times. So my thought is they probably did it when they got with Hugh. But you remember what was reported about Paul DeBodesta? He wanted who when they ended up hiring Hugh? Didn't he want Sean
McDermott?
McDermott, yes. Then they went and they got Freddie Kitchens. Obviously, that feels like it would have been different from the way they did things. Then they got Kevin. Kevin's had some good. Kevin had obviously some bad. But then when you write the unlike anything other in the NFL, and it's like, well, fans just want you to be like other teams. They just want you to be like other teams. So you're not going to get any quarter from the fan base from about being like other teams, because if you're doing it unlike it is, and I have to admit, how often have I been mad on a Browns Monday and said, well, you insist on zagging when everyone else zigs. You insist on doing it differently than anybody else. Well, now you get it differently. You have the same results that we've been dealing with, but you continue to do things differently. Like, I'm sorry, the Browns, as much as you can try to defend it, and I can try to defend it, you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt. I can't put lipstick on that hog, considering that they had 2 terrible losing seasons before this. You question almost everything they do. Everything they do comes back to bite them. And if I were to defend that, it's only going on my own hope that they're able to pull the nose up on the thing. I think Kevin, I thought there was definitely some things that needed to change, but there was also some good things about Kevin. I'm sure Kevin did the same thing that these guys are being asked to do, Udinski and Shieldhouse, and Kevin was a pretty fine coach a couple of times throughout this time. But it doesn't matter because you've lost for 2 straight seasons at a terrific fashion, and it doesn't seem like you're going to be any better this 3rd season coming up here, so you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt by the fan base. It's not going to happen.
I asked around because I'm like, the personality test, that doesn't sound that crazy to me.
It doesn't.
And as it turns out, just people that got back to me said they had heard this team does it. This team does something like it. Another team has kind of a comparable thing. So that wasn't as offensive.
So where do we get the unlike anything else in the NFL?
The essay. I heard from some people. I heard from a scout in another organization who was like, that is insane. That is just insane. That's going to get them laughed at, from here to kingdom come. Okay, well, the Browns are used to getting laughed at. I mean, they already knew they were dealing with a different candidacy pool. Do I think, John Harbaugh was going to submit that kind of paperwork? No, because I think John Harbaugh would be interviewing you. You wouldn't be interviewing John Harbaugh. Yep. Do I think Mike McCarthy, and I saw, a lot of Browns fans were making fun of the Mike McCarthy hire with the Steelers, but I didn't know this. I mean, I guess I knew that Mike McCarthy had a bunch of good years. Did you know his resume was pretty comparable to John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin? He's done a lot.
Single Super Bowl winners. Yeah, he's been a very good kid. I really think they switched out Mike Tomlin for white Mike Tomlin, but either way, I mean, that's hopefully that'll end up being good for us, but you're probably looking at another 9-8, and we're still in the doldrums here, so we got to get ourselves figured out.
Do we think Mike McCarthy is going to submit that kind of paperwork? Probably not. He's probably going to say, now maybe if it's his only head coaching opportunity, maybe it's different. I don't know. But yes, I think there's a fine line between, hey, in a comprehensive way, trying to get to know leadership qualities as best you can, and then also making guys jump through unnecessary hoops. I do think there's a fine line.
Well, do they find it? I'm just trying to find the reasoning for it. This isn't an excuse for it, guys. I'm just trying to find the reasoning. Going into this, you could not have made this decision believing that you were going to get the creme de la creme. Now, you can call John Harbaugh and see if he's interested. You should. You can call Sean McDermott, see if he's interested. You should, right? Right. But you knew you were going to get it. So do you want to make sure that the guys who are interviewing you that are 30 and 35 years old, that they're not going through it as a tune-up to be interviewed by somebody else? Are you thinking that, or are you trying to make sure that you are wanted as bad as you might want a candidate to be your head coach? That this isn't just a thing to go through to be a head coach and all of a sudden you accidentally do it. Like maybe trying to avoid Mike Pettin land. And Mike, for 2 years, was pretty decent, at least in year 1. Year 2, then the Johnny stuff got to him and everything was a mess. But you get what I'm saying. So you don't end up on your 7th guy. Do you have them write this stuff hoping that this is a guy that this kid really wants this job, this young man really wants this job? We want to feel more comfortable giving the keys to this guy. I'm asking a question. I think, it doesn't seem like that's a good sell.
I think it
doesn't seem like that's a good sell to you.
I think the one thing, and maybe it's going to be up to whoever gets this job, we were hoping that Kevin Stefanski would leave it better than when he came into it. That's always the goal with these things. Maybe that wasn't necessarily the case, but maybe for now we just have to accept the fact that when we trot out, this is one of 31. There were 32, one of 32. There's 32 teams. There's 32 job openings or potential head coaching openings. You might not get another shot. You should always take this just as seriously as anywhere else. Maybe we're just not up there with the rest of the NFL
I don't think you are.
Right now. And we have to come to grips with that. That does not mean that one of these guys, if we make an announcement today and can start off the show saying, hey, today might be the day that we offer the job and maybe it gets accepted.
I think you want somebody, that this isn't a great position. They had to have known this going in. And that there can't be any way you bring them back knowing that this is going to be this coveted job. Because if it were a coveted job, you wouldn't have had to let go of Kevin Stefanski because you would have been in a much better position. So you had to have known. So the only way, and guys, this is a complete rationalization. Totally trying to rationalize this, just trying to see why they would do any of this, because it doesn't seem like anything I would ever want to do. anything, okay? But I'm trying to figure out what's the process to their madness, and the only thing I can think of is that you want to make sure that the 35-year-old going through the process isn't just trying to go through the process to see what he can do to make his situation better for the future. That you have somebody here who takes it seriously, who actually wants your job. That's the only thing I could think of, because you knew going in you're not getting the brand names that we all think of. And a hush went over the crowd going, that's a bunch of crap. Well, yeah, that's what happens when you win 8 games in the last 2 years. Ken Carman, Tonemaster General, will get to you guys on The Fan.
Anthony Lima, 4. Q.
Protect your fun at MGM Northfield Park. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There are accidents on 480 West at Broadway, 271 North at Forbes, and 71 North at West 130th. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Don't trust anybody with your Cavs coverage unless they have sports in their name. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Am I just trying to make myself feel better? Because I want to hear Baldinger on Afternoon Drive on Friday after it turned out that the Browns are making people write essays to be their next head coach.
I've never heard that. I mean, I don't know if that goes on. I can't believe that goes on in many places, and I don't know what the purpose of writing essays would have to do with leading a football team. So, I mean, I'm not disputing what Tom is saying. I'm sure Tom has his good sources, as he usually does, in order to make that report. But I have no idea why anybody would ask a coaching candidate to write an essay. If your coach can't create his vision, sitting in a room and talking to you face to face, if you can't create that vision, then I don't understand what any essay would how that would trump anything that you would get face to face with any candidate.
That's Brian Baldinger on Friday on Afternoon Drive. By the way, Cavs-Lakers tickets up for grabs coming up at 8 o'clock. Yes, your chance to go see LeBron James possibly in the last time he could be coming to the Cleveland area to play NBA basketball. Coming to downtown Cleveland to play NBA basketball. 216-474-0092. Like, I don't think there's any nice way around it. Unless Nate Shieldhouse or Grant Udinski. Did they make Jim Schwartz? Did Jim Schwartz write an essay? Did Jim Schwartz write an essay?
I don't know. I don't know. We're kind of just learning about this process through secondhand reports.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't defend it. I can defend some of the other reasons why you would do it and say, like, no, this is kind of the way it does, as Lima brought up. Personality tests. He had heard about personality tests before. All the other things. Write an essay. Like, what, you need 1,800 words on why you need to be the Browns head coach? 800 words on why you need to be the Browns head coach? Does it have to be typed? Like, can you write it longhand?
Can you use ChatGPT?
Can you use Chat? Well, I think ChatGPT would be an eliminator for me.
Well, like, Jim Schwartz went to Georgetown. I feel like he could spit out an essay pretty.
You went to Georgetown?
Yeah, I think he could spit out an essay pretty damn quickly. Like, I don't think that would be very hard for him.
Damn. Pretty damn good,
George.
Pretty damn, Sam, you're killing my ass. I had no idea he went to Georgetown. That's pretty good. Go Hoyas. Okay, I did not realize that. I think you're right, but he spent 3 years in the building. Do you think they make him do that? Like, it doesn't. I just think it makes a lot of people worried because you consistently tell us you do things differently. Yeah, you're consistently at the bottom of the AFC North. Maybe you should try to do some things like everybody else. Maybe being more like the consistent teams. Maybe that's going to help you. Because some of this stuff, well, we're trying to be different from everybody else. We're trying to be on the cutting edge. I don't know, man. It just seems like you keep getting passed up by everybody else. So there's as much as I want to, as a Browns fan, say, no, things are different. We do it differently here. We want to find out. Like, I'm trying to tell myself, we want to find out. I'm trying to see if a young guy wants to be the head coach here really that badly, or he's just going through the interview to go through the interview to get himself ready for another job. So you have to write an essay. I'm like, we're really taking time out to write essays here. I mean, some of these guys don't have time. Nate Shieldhouse had a game yesterday. Did he have time to write an essay?
Can you imagine?
Grant Udinski, he had playoff football to deal with. Did he have time to write an essay?
Sean McVay saying, hey, where are we on this sequencing of plays? He's like, Coach, I'm trying to balance two things here.
Like,
I've got this essay, and I don't even know if I have the right font. I don't know. Is it double space?
I hope
I have to have this submitted very quickly.
I hope it ends up being a nice story that starts the beginning of a great relationship between the Browns and a head coach for the next 15 to 20 years, and that they're fantastic. But you can't sit here and act unless you are just putting your head in the sand. And as a Browns fan, as a guy who's pretty good at putting his head in the sand, unless you're just going to completely put your head in the sand, you can't say that this makes you feel better. It's impossible. Right?
I am holding out hope, Kenny, that I know it's like I just dodged your question. I'm holding out hope that, this entire process, no matter what, no matter whether it's a great airtight process and you're getting the first guy on your list or you're getting the seventh guy on your list. I am hoping there's in time there, and we've heard stories about this over the years, that there's not always a big-time correlation between a great process and finding a great head coach, because you don't know what these guys are truly going to be like until they have to lead. It's one thing to come up with your coach's binder. I asked you on Thursday, hey, what's your coach's binder look like? I used to have one for basketball. I was wondering what yours looked like. I was hoping you'd bring it in.
I have a bunch of manila folders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just have to punch the holes in and make it a binder.
You want me to bring the binder? I'll bring the binder. Well, it's not a binder. It's a folding thing.
Every coach in any sport has to have this. So eventually, all that stuff gets thrown out the window when a wide receiver has a trade request, or a defensive lineman like Jadeveon Clowney comes in and says, it feels like they're just trying to get the other guy a record, some stats.
Yes.
Like, anybody can lead on paper. It's what happens when stuff hits the fan. What happens with Udinski, Shieldhouse, when they start out 1-4, and the walls seem like they're closing in?
You have to go back to the essay.
And
what did you write in the essay?
Was that in your prompt?
Did you address if you started 1-4 in the essay? You got to ask him. 216-474-0092. Austin and Parma, you're first up on the Fan. Hello.
How you doing?
We're doing well, Austin. Go ahead.
All right, so I just wanted to come out here real quick. I know you guys are probably tired of talking about Kevin, but so in my lifetime, the Browns have only made the playoffs 2 times, and I was obviously in 2020 and in 2023. In 2020, I wanted to talk about, I think that was Kevin's best year here. Statistically, the offense, they only put up the 14th best points per game. And I think that was statistically their best year offensively, outside of Joe Flacco's Cinderella run.
Well, Austin, he's gone now. I understand this, but why are we talking about what happened before?
I just wanted to talk about I think where Kevin went wrong with the team. I think he kind of, like, if you've ever seen the video of Miles Sanders.
I saw it happening from a mile away.
I could see the look in his eye,
Austin, hey,
in that room.
Austin, give us a call 4 years ago.
Where did it go wrong with Romeo Crennel? 216-474-0092.
I don't hate the call. Just go build your time machine and then call us back.
It wasn't a bad call.
2023.
2 months ago. It wasn't a bad call 2 months ago. I saw, I'm like, where's he going with it into the future here? DJ in the Falls, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, DJ.
What's going on, fellas?
Hey. Hi, go ahead.
I wanted to talk to specifically Ken.
Okay.
When I watched the Super Bowl, it felt like Super Bowl. But when I watched the AFC Championship game yesterday, it made me think back to y'all conversation that y'all had. And I think it last Friday when you was turning all red-faced about digging through the dumpster for quarterback.
Yeah.
And I thought about, did watching Sam Darnold make you feel any different about that process? And quickly, I just want to say, because I think it's a process now for these quarterbacks that are talented and get to go to good organizations, play behind good quarterbacks, and play with good coaches. I think Sam Darnold, with being in San Francisco with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan, ironically, I think for Daniel Jones playing behind Sam Darnold and being with Kevin O'Connell. I think to a lesser degree, I think Baker Mayfield being in the same room. I know Matthew Stafford was hurt, but with Matthew Stafford and being with Sean McVay, I think now you got Malik Willis who got to play behind Jordan Love and got to play with Matt LaFleur. And I think you got Mac Jones who's doing the same thing basically that Sam Darnold did and was a former first-round pick, got his team to the playoffs his rookie year, and then his second year had a defensive coordinator calling plays for him, which was insane.
Do you, in your heart of hearts, believe that anybody in the current quarterback room is a franchise quarterback for the Browns?
In our quarterback room currently, no, absolutely
Okay,
not.
so that's why I have to be open-minded to it. I could be upset about having to dig through the dumpster for old bread heels and fight Lima over them. But when it comes to quarterbacks, but if I got to do what I got to do, and I don't have a quarterback, then I got to do it.
I'm saying, did watching Sam make you feel like that process works better now? Because I think it's a different process than it was 3-4 years ago, where it felt like, or even longer than that, when we got RG3. Like I felt like I feel like it's a different day and age. Like it's a second, damn near feel like a second college for these quarterbacks to go to good organizations, play with good quarterbacks, and learn with good coaches. That's my opinion. Like, that's what I feel like we've seen with Daniel. I feel like we've seen it with Baker. I feel like we've seen it with Sam. Like, Sam Darnold is going to the Super Bowl. That's insane to me. He deserved it. You know, I think when I watch Malik, I'm like, he's learned so much in those 2 years, and when he get his opportunity, it's like, damn, this is a completely different quarterback than when he was in Tennessee. Same thing for Mac Jones. I'm like, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 70% completion percentage in 8 games. Damn, like, this guy, then I watched the tape, and I'm like, I didn't think he was bad to begin with, but I'm like, this is a different quarterback. Like, that process to me is creating at least mid-level starting quarterback play in his league.
So, am I not open-minded to those guys, or what's the crux?
Do it make you feel like you still digging through the garbage, or do this make you feel like you could have a guy for the next?
Yeah.
Like, potentially.
Yes.
You still do? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me tell you why. DJ, thank you very much for the call. Okay, maybe it's not digging through the garbage, but I'm trying to thrift a quarterback is what I'm trying to do here. That's what I'm trying to do. Seattle, they went out, they made a major investment in it, and they took a major risk with Sam Darnold. They certainly did that. They felt like it was at an end. They might have to do the same because, like Geno Smith had some good years, and it's clearly at its end with Geno. I think he might be used up. Will they ever feel that way with Sam Darnold? Now I wonder if quarterback careers are going to be shorter because of everything that's going on with all the changes that we could talk about forever. But I still feel that way. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean I'm not willing to roll up my sleeves and go look for that guy because I don't have any guys. I don't have anybody I can truly count on in this QB room. I have hope for Shedeur. That's not realistic. So I have to go with what I know. And if you bring in one of these quarterbacks, like I'm serious, if you bring in Shieldhouse, there's going to be conversations about who you bring with him, what other players you bring in.
I saw people yesterday. I got a couple of texts, Kenny. I know me and you throw names around all the time.
Yeah.
Somebody said Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm like, really? At 34? Like, I was on the Garoppolo train like 5 years ago.
I understand that.
I don't know about now.
I know, but I think that this is where you're at. Like, whoever they bring in, you can't wait. You can't wait around. So, like, I don't know where else you go. Like, if you
we're on the same page on Tua, Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
like, you have zero. Honestly, this is me talking right now. If that was the plan, I would just say let's see what Shedeur has.
You and I got
this is me talking now.
Well, I know. I understand. I feel that. Obviously, I feel the same way you do. I feel that those guys are wasted investments, and I think we already have a guy who's a wasted investment who's behind Shedeur right now in that quarterback room. But when you bring in like Malik Willis, I don't know why I got so upset with you. You had to have said something that threw me off last Wednesday, why I got so red-faced and screaming at you over Malik Willis, because when I break it down, it's like $50 million or $40 million, whatever it is. It's just $40 million over 2 years. Now, you can make that investment, but it's like, hey, if it goes belly up, okay, I could still draft a quarterback in the first round if I really wanted to.
Yeah, it would not preclude you.
I could try to force it, or force it's a bad word, but I could try to do something like that, or I can make a move with one of these other QBs.
I think what made you upset was me dangling that second first-round pick. I think you were like, let's talk about the second-round pick. Let's not give away the end of the first round.
Who, for like Mac Jones or somebody?
No, I'm saying, in any of the trades that we were talking about.
Well, Malik was just money.
He was a free agent.
Why did I get so mad at him yesterday or last week when it was just money?
Well, Malik just hasn't played.
What did you say that made me so mad?
Malik just has not played. He's had so few games.
It could have been the money. What was I so mad at you about? $40 million or $50 million ain't nothing. That's whatever. I don't care about that. 216-474-0092. Maybe Daryl will remember, coming up at 8:20. Also, the legend of the Guardians, he's here to stay. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Lima likes in 5 on the Fan. WindowNation.com.
923thefan.com.
Does Lima like? Or does Lima no like? Like?
Tell me likey. I'm liking it. I like it a lot.
No like.
He doesn't like you.
I don't like you either.
You're tacky and I hate you.
Like or no like. No like or no like.
But I definitely knew what I liked, and I definitely knew what I didn't like.
Build the statue now.
Lima likes over here.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you weren't here last time. By the way, don't forget, you can get Cavs, Lakers tickets 15 minutes away from that code word.
Boom.
Your chance to win. Anyway, Jose Ramirez. He signed a deal that'll take him to age 40 with your Cleveland Guardians. What was it? Deferred payments I saw.
Yeah, next owner's got to deal with it.
Through 2032.
Yeah, another $175 million. Folks, another hometown discount from the guy that angered his agent last time around. Do you think his agent was even involved in this deal this time around? Because he did it again.
I'm sure to some degree. Probably said, I want to stay in Cleveland, get it done in Cleveland, get this job done in Cleveland. You finish the work.
How surprised were you to see that story over the weekend?
I was mildly surprised, certainly, but I was glad because I'm getting to Nate Thurman land with Jim Thome's statue. You're not going to take it down.
Ooh.
But
wow. Hall of Famer Jim Thome?
Well, Jose Ramirez, is he not a Hall of Famer? Is he not one of the greatest Cleveland Guardians / Indians of all time? I mean, I'm not talking about, like, Jim Thome hit a lot of home runs, and he's up there in the annals of history. That's great. But we also share a lot of his history with the White Sox and Phillies and whatever. Like, we don't share Jose with anybody else. And before you start the LeBron stuff, one guy brought a championship, the other guy didn't. So like, Jose gets a statue, but I imagine at some point you'll walk through there and you go, okay, Larry Doby makes a lot of sense. Bob Feller makes a lot of sense. Jose Ramirez, depending on how baseball ends up here in the next couple of years, whether it's salary for, still going to make a lot of sense. Jim Thome hit a lot of home runs. Okay, it's just not as big as Jose Ramirez.
I don't sit there and blame Jose for not winning a World Series. Like in baseball,
also true.
We saw the Angels for how many years with, their stars in the lineup, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Well, you put more pressure on him, and you're right about that. You put more pressure on him in the postseason, and he tends to press in the postseason because you're going to be playing against better teams, and they're going to be able to play you differently. And if you don't have the help that, like, I'll use a Yankees lineup because they're in the American League. If he doesn't have the help in a 3-hole or wherever that maybe Aaron Judge has or Giancarlo Stanton has or something like that, it's going to be more difficult to have an impact. And so that's something that I've had to realize over the last how many years, but just getting there in the first place and being there in the first place and being the type of organization they are, I think that Jose deserves a lot of credit for it.
Now, I saw if there was any criticism whatsoever, because there's always got to be some criticism, it's that why are they spending money on anything other than trying to help this baseball team this year where they look like they're going to have one of the lowest payrolls
still helps the baseball team.
In baseball.
That still helps. Jose still helps the baseball team.
He was on the roster this year.
Okay, but they still help the baseball team.
It doesn't help them this year.
Okay, who was I going to... Well, I got to ask. I'm not trying to make a point. Who were they going to spend money on?
Nobody.
Okay.
They don't spend money.
So they weren't going to be...
Correct.
Who were they going to outbid for who? Other than Jose... See, this is where we're kind of at a loggerheads here. What is the right investment other than Jose?
Yeah, Antonetti
if I give that money to somebody else, then Jose might be gone.
Maybe we'll do this later in the show. Antonetti had a cut over the weekend that they had to be mindful of any of the potential guys they would sign on how that would impede some of the younger guys. So basically saying it's going to be Jose and a bunch of young guys.
Like it was these last couple of years.
Yes.
They've been a postseason team the last couple of years. I don't know how long that can be sustainable, but we're going to find out again.
Lima.
Folks, break up your Cleveland Cavaliers. At one point this year, I dubbed them the most disappointing team in the NBA. Now, they've won 5 of 6. Now, they're the 5 seed in the beleaguered Eastern Conference. Now, they have wins over Sacramento, and I thought a really dominant second half against the Orlando Magic. Kenny?
Why did you say break them up?
Well, that's just like a stupid term.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Say,
I thought
break
you were
them
trying
up.
to make a point. I didn't.
I actually don't understand.
I wouldn't look at
Sounds like something Mark Jones would say 14 times in one
Break them up.
Shots at Mark Jones here on a Monday.
He deserves it.
Okay. Well, okay.
Smooth like
Well.
Febreze.
No, he said.
On
Did
a
he say
summer's
fresher
morning.
than? What did he say? Fresher than Febreze?
Cooler than a summer's eve.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a different product there, buddy.
That's all the same.
Hotter
No,
than
it's not.
Carnation Instant Breakfast. You're going to love it in a minute.
Now
Anyway.
it's Folgers Crystals.
So, Kenny, the Cavs, do we need to start to change
Where's
our...
the beef?
We need to start to change our mindset on our wine and gold.
I can't believe it's not butter. We're in a commercial break, Mark. What are you talking about?
Did Edmonds, did they have any kind of a saying?
Yeah, Jim Edmonds.
They had those cakes.
Entenmann's.
They had those cakes that were really good. Yeah. I thought we were high society when my mom brought one of those home once.
No, that was the Viennetta. That was the ice cream.
Wow, yeah.
Because they served it out of them glasses, or the glasses, the crystal.
Yeah,
they served it out of the
plastic.
out of the crystal
Cheap.
glasses. Shut up. It served it out of the crystal glasses.
Correct.
And the commercial where the person has their napkin. Remember, they're like, ooh, they want that last piece, so they have to squeeze their napkin, hoping they can get that last piece of Viennetta. That and Grey Poupon.
Yes. That was always luxury.
Of course, I'll tell you what, that's the difference between being from here and being from an outer ring suburb. It's like you guys all look at Olive Garden like it's some bastard son of Italian. I'm telling you right now, growing up in Canton, Ohio, Olive Garden, you're going to Olive Garden, your family's doing well. Your family's doing well.
Heck yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys got to go to Olive Garden. Well, congratulations on your dad's promotion. Didn't realize that.
I'm alive.
The ratings were in for a national championship game that I thought lacked a lot of buzz. In fact, I took them to task for continuing to air these games on Monday nights, on school nights and work nights, and 30.1 million viewers tuned in to watch the Hoosiers take down the Hurricanes. It was the most watched national championship game since Oregon and Ohio State.
Would there have
back
been 31
in
million
2015.
watching on a Friday?
Friday night is my contention. It would have had a higher rating. Our boss just, again,
Waiting for our boss to text us
walked
again.
out of the conversation yesterday. He said, Lima, take the L. Did that surprise you? That did surprise me that the rating was that high.
No, it didn't.
Because I had a lot of people telling me, who cares about Indiana? And I had a lot of people telling me, yeah, Miami.
A lot of people care.
I'm just telling you what they were telling me that night. They're like, no, the rating's going to be down because nobody cares about this game.
The rating's going to be huge.
I just feel like on a Friday night, I am off doing other things, and on Monday night, I watched that game.
So
I had nothing
what
else
would you have done on Friday night that would have precluded you from
literally
watching?
anything else.
They're an underdog, but they're not an underdog.
Point one of those things out to me.
Go drink with friends.
And the game wouldn't have been on at where you would have been drinking?
Would they have gotten credit for my TV?
They do now. That is the thing. So this is
They go to tailgaters and go, how many people
So
were in tailgaters?
you-
I go 6.
you
How
do-
many more is that than normal?
I get the cynicism on that. This is one of the reasons that people aren't buying any of the ratings today is that all the ratings are up on all these games because they are now somehow counting differently.
But like
They
TCU, I felt like TCU just was going to be overmatched when that happened. So there was like, you watched for, how do they calculate the ratings for the entire game? Because when your game's done in the first quarter, like it was 14-0, I'm like, I'm going to bed. That's enough of this.
Yeah.
But Indiana, Miami, you're there the whole time. In Indiana, they were an underdog, but they're in the Big Ten, so they're not really an underdog because they have the type of money you could do this again. It's just, it never happened before. They're not an underdog in the game, but they're an underdog story. And so I think that it's like, well, they can do it again. Now we'll see what happens next year. But no, of course, this is the first time we've ever seen Indiana do anything in football of any reputation in my lifetime, in your lifetime. So, yeah, of course.
I'm alive.
One final note. I know we got to go. A huge publicity stunt over the weekend. Did any of you watch climber Alex Honnold scaling a 101-floor skyscraper in Taiwan?
Liz 1 and 2 didn't do it.
I only saw the part where he's near the top and let's go.
So people were losing their minds about how anxiety-ridden this quest was. But the Netflix CEO said, well, it's on delay. We will cut away if anything bad happens.
I watched Cavs Orlando.
Does that take some of the thunder away from this?
That before or after?
It was Saturday, right?
Yes.
I watched Cavs Orlando.
Yeah.
And then I watched Trailer Park Boys.
This was not on my radar, but on social media, it was on everybody's radar.
Watched a rerun of the national championship game.
Nice.
Like, if you would have told me that he didn't survive the ascent, then he might have had my attention. But if they were just going to cut away from it.
Liz told me it was on tape delay, so in case something bad happened, they could cut away. And that kind of, this is sick. It kind of took it out of me.
Right. That's kind of how I felt.
Like the whole reason you watch the documentary Man on Wire is like, well, is he or isn't he?
It's called Faces of Death, not Faces Right Before Death.
I watched the first 7 of those. Anyway, that's it for Lima Likes.
Did you guys think they were real at first when you were kids?
Yeah, they had.
We thought they were real.
Wait, they're not.
They threw a few real ones in there. There's always a guy getting electrocuted by standing on top of the bus in India.
All you kids at home watching with your dads, this was listening with your fathers as well on the free Odyssey app. There was a series of videos called Faces of Death when we were kids, and it was a big dare to watch them, and I had no idea that most of those were fake. I thought they were all fake. I think after the first one, they were all fake.
Yes, I think so too. They added a few, but then the one where I'll never get it out of my head. The drawing and quartering of the one poor dude, but it was so fake.
Oh, jeez.
But they're like, here's what it would look like.
Remember
if
the
they actually
opening?
did it.
Wasn't it the opening credits? They're scraping out the heads and things like that. Oh, God. So macabre. Whew.
Well, on your snow day, kids, now you've got some.
I don't think you can find those, though.
Oh, the libraries. It's their responsibility to have these.
There's a lot of B movies that are out there, but I don't think you can find Faces of Death. I don't think I want them to go find Faces of Death either. Don't go looking that up. Don't go do that. There's so many other things you could watch, like this show on YouTube Live, where you can also win Cavs-Lakers tickets. Coming up on Wednesday, that game, you could win those Cavs-Lakers tickets coming up in 4 minutes. And is it Nate Shieldhouse Day? If it is, how would you react? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work. If you're on your way into work on the free Odyssey app, Northeast Factory Direct. Well, if you're staying at home today,
success, but he got fired because they couldn't get over the hump. I mean, the Browns are just trying to get to the hump. I feel like on some level, he's the perfect guy to bring in. He sure as heck is worth a conversation.
Catch Odyssey NFL insider Ross Tucker on Afternoon Drive every Wednesday at 4. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Cavs tickets time, baby. Let her rip, Tone.
We are looking for a winner. Enter the code word CLASSIC, CLASSIC at 923thefan.com before 9 a.m. Your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Cavs take on the Lakers Wednesday, January 28th, 7 p.m., Rocket Arena. It's all from the Cavaliers and Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Outstanding as always. Voice just cracked. Daryl Ryder coming up in less than 20 minutes. I think today might be the day that we get ourselves an offer on one of these coaches. I'll speak of that here in a second. I listened to a lot of coaches Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. Was it all together? I want to say 14 sessions from different coaches. One had to cancel because he had technical difficulties, so I went to edge rushing, which was a very, very, very good sermon. Very good session, I should say, by the Texas edge rushers coach.
Wasn't the voice guy that says edge shaped Joe?
No, wasn't him. Very good. But I wanted to learn more about DBs because I don't know as much as I want to know about DBs. But it was one of the things where you had your itinerary as you did a setting the tone on Thursday of who was going to be speaking, and you made a joke. Do you have the one in front of you?
And mine was a joke.
Bob Wiley. Read your Bob Wiley one.
I said, because they all had titles, each one.
Yes.
And the title of this one was Fat Guy in a Little Car. Take a spin with former Browns offensive line coach Bob Wiley in his little white Maserati as he shares stories from an iconic 2018 Browns season, disclosing the anecdotes Hard Knocks didn't want you to know.
And then, wouldn't you know it,
it's unbelievable.
8:50 Friday night, I was like, oh my God, because I looked at it and said, everything you need to know, you could put it on your schedule, everything you need to know about every position, Bob Wiley, longtime NFL offensive line coach, and I go, sign me up. And I signed up for it, and it was quintessential Bob Wiley. The very thick, I think he's from Rhode Island, very thick Rhode Island accent, Boston-style accent, the way we all say it. And they just turned his computer on, and he shared the one page, and away he went for 50 minutes.
So he had one page?
He had one page up there, and it was 50 minutes.
So how many pages are the Browns asking their head coaching candidates to fill out?
I mean, he just kept going.
Yeah.
And I realized why they put him at the end of the night. Because they were saying, and by the way, I didn't realize he's been doing this. The guy who started the Glazier Clinic, so Glazier Clinics have a bunch of different sports, but I think it started with football. And coaches swear by him. And I saw an online one for free, and I go, well, there's no better chance to learn more about football than I'm going to do this. And we made a joke about it last week that I'm going to be sitting there, and I did, in my office for 2 straight days watching these sessions online. And he's been doing it since like the 80s or even earlier. Like he said this was like his 40-something year, so it's been before that. And they put him at the end of the day because I think it's like he's going to keep going. He's just going to keep going in his one session. And he was answering questions. There was some questions in there, but he just
if you had a
going.
takeaway from him, and then from a broader sense, from your fully engrossed weekend with the clinic.
One of my coaching Sherpas said, do not try to, how do you put it? Don't try to change everything just based on this. Pick up little nuggets and install those. And I thought that was one of the greatest pieces of advice. Because guys like me, you will get all excited, and I go, oh my gosh, we're doing it all wrong. And it's like, no, just little things here and there.
Tweaks.
Well, there was one guy, I go, I don't know when he sleeps. There was one guy who was the head coach of Simi Valley at high school, and then he also did the youth program. So he coached right after school, and then the youth starts up, and he does the whole thing. It was insane.
Well, so I saw over the weekend, they were talking about Grant Udinski, and Liam Cohen, I think, had a quote about him sleeping at the facility.
Yeah.
And that is very different. When we talked to Kevin
Well, when you're a single guy.
Yeah, very different. And we had a talk with Kevin Stefanski. I think it was off the air, so I don't think it made it on the air. We might have referred to it at some point that Kevin thought, I think a lot of guys are being a little too showy about how much work they put in. Just get the work done. This was Cignetti. Cignetti said this because they uncovered some of his clips from last year, because once you win national championship, everyone's trying to mine that gold from a national championship coach. And he's like, we don't have to be the first ones in, last ones to leave. He said, but when the hours are on and you're in that conference room or, you're in that auditorium, wherever you're doing it, you've got to be on. Like, it's got to be professional.
And I think you're right about it. Now, if you're a guy who's trying to gain ground and you're a single man, go ahead and knock yourself out. That's fine. But if you're at a position where you can separate family time, like I think, what was it? There was some story about Mike McDonald saw his kid like 30 minutes a week during the football season.
That was the one.
Okay.
You're right. Yes.
Well, is Mike McDonald going to do what Chuck Noll did? He probably will. Is Mike McDonald going to do what Chuck Noll used to do, which was take an entire month off in the month of June or May, whichever one it was, and go and travel with the family? And no football was done. It was all about him and the family. Maybe he does that to make up for it. Like, I understand during the season, and there's different times, some things work differently for other guys. I think what these guys are trying to say, and I think the same thing would go with Udinski eventually, is that you could stare at something all you want. You could spend as much time as you want doing it. If you still didn't find the right way to make your guys better, you're still not going to help yourself win. It's that simple. I mean, it's just that simple. And you can take advantage of the things that you couldn't take advantage of before. So like Vince Lombardi would stay in his office on a Monday when he got in after a Packer game, and he would be there from 7 a.m. until 2:30 in the morning. And that was a Monday. Do you have to do that? Well, there were things where you had to wait on tape to come in and all the other things to come in where you don't necessarily have to do that as much as you do now. So when it's more instantaneous, it takes less time to do things. And it's not where you find time to not do your job, but you find time to do your job more efficiently. So if it works for you, say they hire Udinski this week. If he wants to stay in the office for 16 hours a day, as long as they're up at the final whistle, as long as it's our side that has more points, fine, God bless you, I don't care. But if I find out or we find out, hey, he's staying there 18, 20 hours a day, he's sleeping in there, we're getting boat raced by 40, okay, what are we really doing here?
But at the same time, what if they're winning and that formula is working, and then we catch wind of him going on dates, and we're like, oh, no, he's trying to start a family. We can't allow that. We cannot allow this guy to start a family here.
Well, you know about this area. These Cleveland ladies tend to get their hooks into you. How many guys do you know that are not from here, and they maybe went to college at John Carroll or something like that, and all of a sudden they're lifers in Cleveland? I've seen it a bunch.
Yeah, we do have some.
I've seen it a bunch. Something about a Cleveland woman just digs her fingernails into you, and that's it. You're here for the rest of your life. Say what you want to. They're good ladies. 216-474-0092. I think today will be a day that we have ourselves an offer. I don't know why I'm getting that stealing feeling. Who do you think? I don't know if you're doing a parade for any of them. I think that we'll have some hope for any of them, but I don't know if we're doing a parade. Which coach would you be most excited for? Excitement and hopeful, I think, might be different things, but let's just go with it on the same thing. What coach could you be the most excited for?
I was hoping you'd never ask me that question on the air.
Okay, great. Outstanding.
Well, and it's not because, and I've seen people say, oh, you guys are just going to come on and say it's doom and gloom with the Browns, and you're going to echo the sentiments in the national media about what a circus. Nobody wants this job. And so now you guys are going to be left.
No, some people want the job. It's just not.
Look, to me, there's no doubt, like, comparing, and this was considered a down cycle for chasing head coaches.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Well, Tomlin and Pittsburgh, they separate. Buffalo, they fire their coach. Baltimore fires their coach. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, my God, of all the coaching cycles. But in reality, no matter which coaching cycle it was going to be, the Browns were probably going to have to take somebody inexperienced and try to gamble a little bit, bet on somebody that has never had that responsibility before. So I've looked over the last. I'm not gonna make it sound like for 6 months we've been going over the resumes of Udinski and Scheelhaus. Like, we had known about Scheelhaus just because of the Iowa State thing, And when it came to Udinski, like once he was on the radar, like, yeah, you do your deep dive into all that. And yes, he comes away very impressive every time I see him on camera. I think he comes away more impressive than Shieldhouse just in communicating. But that's not everything. That's not everything at all, because Sirianni couldn't communicate at all. He has a Super Bowl, at least to the media. How he communicates in the locker room.
Liam Cohen came off as one of the most awkward people ever, and they're in the playoffs.
So there's not necessarily a correlation in all of these. And who you didn't ask me about, or maybe you were getting to, was the third major candidate, was Jim Schwartz, which I'll be honest, Jim Schwartz, there was a comfort level because he's been here. I think he's had to talk to the ownership. I think he's had to talk to Andrew Berry, and I think they could coexist. Do I think that in this second go-around, Jim Schwartz was going to be a completely different iteration? No. So, he wears his failures, in Detroit. Not all on him, but he wears some of those failures too. I'll admit, I would have been a little more conservative in this go-around. I probably would have been okay with Schwartz more than the others. But is there a limited ceiling there? Probably.
How close are we to finding a new coach? And I want to know if Daryl agrees with you on that. The dangerous one, Daryl Ryder, joins us in 5 minutes on The Fan.
XTENDAV.com. Extend Technologies. Well, you don't have to get conservative when it comes to making sure.
7 of his 36 points in the second half. Cavs have won 3 straight and 5 of their last 6. Get all the latest Browns content filtered right to your phone during the offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
According to Diana Rossini, Phillip Rivers has pulled his name out of the Bills head coaching search. Make your jokes.
Wait a
Make
second.
your jokes.
Wait a
Make
second.
I know he's got
We
10
can't say
kids.
that.
Make your jokes.
Okay, I didn't know that was a real story. That was one of those that I just
That's real.
I did not believe that they were seriously interviewing him.
Come in all shapes and sizes.
All right, so what jobs are open right now? The Raiders?
Raiders, us, Cardinals?
Yep.
Raiders, us, Cardinals, Bills.
Yep.
Okay, and the Raiders, people made it seem like the way Tom Brady was gushing over Kubiak yesterday that they're going to pair him up with Mendoza.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Just based on what he was saying?
Yeah, just the speculation.
I mean, Kubiak's done a hell of a job with him this year. I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, that they had to fire their OC last year, make a quarterback change. They're in the Super Bowl. That's a pretty. You're going to get a great shot if you're Clint Kubiak. So, yeah, that plays into it. Let's bring in Daryl Ryder. He's brought to you by
Scheibin Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Hi, Daryl.
Hello, boys.
Could there be an offer today? I'm getting a sneaking suspicion we could hear about an offer today.
I think that within the next 24 to 36 hours, we might have a new head coach.
Whoa, Daryl.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dangerous Daryl.
Wow.
Setting this studio on fire.
Jeez.
All right, Daryl. So who do you think?
Wasn't ready for
who do you
that.
think it's going to be?
You know, for about a week and a half, I was sold that it was absolutely going to be Grant Udinski, but I'm leaning toward Nate Shieldhouse. I mean, they go to LA today.
Oh, an about face. Took it on one road, then the other.
Oh.
That's the best thing about the Rams losing last night was that we're not going to have to wait until after the Super Bowl to get a coach.
Oh, baby.
So,
Daryl, this information, it's like Billy Joel in the Hamptons all over. Look at you.
If he tells us who the quarterback is next year, starting week 1, then be prepared to be
what do
blown
you
away.
got, Daryl? Who are you picking?
Is it Jimmy
Right.
G?
Right now, Shedeur Sanders.
Whoa.
Tell you what, you get Shieldhouse. Breece Hall, I think, going to be a free agent, right? There's history. I'm just saying, there's history. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to turn my phone over now so it doesn't light up. All right. Daryl, so what do you, would you be, I think we've gotten ourselves ready. I think at worst, I think some people are going to be nonplussed. I don't know if anybody's going to be mad because, I think Schwartz is obviously going to stay.
Right.
He'll be the defensive coordinator. Now, I hope that Jim doesn't run over, I should say, either of these two guys that they could get. I mean, Shieldhouse, I think it's just going to have to come down to a lot of hope for Browns fans that either Shieldhouse or Udinski will be able to get this thing going because there's going to need to be some understanding this coming year because, again, how much better can they really get in one season?
Well, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. First-time head coaches, really limited experience, from the coordinator standpoint. We had Mary Kay on the show yesterday, and she kind of echoed some of the things that I had been saying since this search began. And it's not so much about the X's and O's. It's about finding someone that's a great leader that can lead the football team. You're going to have, the X's and O's are going to work themselves out. That's not going to be an issue. The play calling, that's going to work itself out. It's about, do you have great leadership from the head coach position and that resonating within the locker room, the players buying in, the players executing what is being called. I mean, that's a big part of it. I see a lot of comments on social media about, well, it's going to be nice that the Browns are going to have motion back in their offense. Well, they've had motion in their offense. The problem is it usually has resulted in illegal formation penalties and false start penalties. They've not executed correctly, so they kind of had to dial it back because, well, the players aren't doing it right. So that's what this is going to come down to, and I think fans are just going to have to understand that back to growing pains 101 when it comes to the head coach, and you hope that whether it's Udinski, whether it's Shieldhouse, they're going to grow into this job, and it's going to be worth it. What's going to be challenging is you look at the two teams in the Super Bowl. One coach is in year 2, one coach is in year 1. They're in the Super Bowl. They turn it around. Now, yes, the quarterback has a tremendous part of this whole thing when it comes to the turnaround, but the fact that you're seeing these teams turn it around in a year is going to be frustrating for Browns fans, because I don't think that the Browns are turning this thing around in a year.
Do the Browns think they're turning this thing around in the year?
Well, I think that maybe – I'm just going off of what Jimmy Haslam said the day they fired Kevin Stefanski. His focus was on the fact they won 8 games in 2 years, and that's very real. And then Andrew Berry came out and basically said the exact opposite, that there was the developmental issue, right? There were things independent of the outcomes of the games that they were frustrated and unhappy with. So right now I kind of feel like the front office has a pretty good realistic expectation about where they're at. And Jimmy Haslam right now, he's getting ready to try and sell very expensive PSLs and suites in a brand new dome. So he has to sell the winning aspect of this. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two different things play out, because in all reality, the offense has to be rebuilt this offseason. Offensive line, wide receivers, got to figure out the quarterback thing, probably need another tight end. There's a lot to do on that side of the football. And as Andrew Berry says time and time again, you can't fix it all in one offseason.
What do you think about the process of they were going through, the essays that we heard about? Because Lima brought up, he goes, I talk to a lot of people around the league. Lima talks to more people than we think. And you had said, Lima, that there's always a lot of personality tests more than we think. The essay thing, there were some people who were downright nasty around the league about the essay thing. And Daryl, I try to understand it as best I can, because I want things to work out for him. But I don't know, what are you going to give me, 1,800 words on why you think you should be the Browns coach? What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, the essay thing was denied to me by folks that I spoke to.
So where does this come from Tom? Why does Tom Pelissero say that then?
Well, here's, I think, where it comes from. And I talked about this over the weekend. They have been asking for detailed philosophy, right? Detailed philosophy on offense, on defense,
well, that's
on the
fair.
existing person. Yeah, I call it, I don't know, job interview preparation. And so I think that's where the essay and the homework stuff comes from, that the Browns are asking maybe for a little more from their interview candidates than, other teams do. And you know what? You know me. I'm first in line to kill these guys, because they pretty much deserve it. But in this case, I'm actually going to defend them. Their goal is to find somebody that aligns with them philosophically. And, Andrew Berry's still going to be the top football guy here. The ownership has made that decision. Whether you and I agree or disagree with that is immaterial at this point. Andrew Berry's staying. So this next head coach has to align philosophically with Andrew Berry and this front office and the way they go about doing things. So I really don't have a problem with them asking maybe for a little more detail on philosophy and schemes and personnel and whatnot, because I just consider that to be part of the interview process. And you look at a couple of these candidates that they have talked to, the Nate Shieldhouses and the Grant Udinskis of the world, what do people say about them? They say these guys are football savants. They're geniuses. You'd be crazy not to bring them into your organization. They outsmart everyone. Well, I mean, what has the Browns' philosophy been? They've been trying to outsmart people. So that's why I really feel like this whole thing comes down to Udinski and Shieldhouse. Maybe Anthony Lynn joins the coaching staff in some capacity. Maybe Todd Monken joins the organization in some capacity. And as we know, Jim Schwartz, they apparently have already gotten commitments from both these young candidates that they would stick with Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator.
Daryl Ryder with us right now, talking some Browns football. If I would have told you that you'd be down to these three individuals back in, let's say, October, when the season seemed to be getting away from them, what do you think you would have said? What do you think most Browns fans would have said?
I would have scratched my head and said, why don't you just stay the course with Kevin? Now, I understand why they didn't stay the course with Kevin. I get it. But, I don't think they're going to win the press conference, but that's not what's important. I know we focus on that. I know fans focus on that, but that's not what's they need to start winning football games. They've won a few press conferences, and that hasn't helped them either. They've lost a lot of press conferences. That hasn't helped them either. So for me, it comes down to players. It comes down to players executing, and this coaching staff, however it ultimately shapes out, not just with the head coach, but the coordinators, the position coaches, et cetera, because now there's going to be some deeper changes on the staffs. These coaches got to get the most out of their players. Jim Schwartz, I think, has gotten the most out of his defensive guys, and that's why he's going to stick around. But can they get the most out of right now what is not a lot of offensive talent? It'll get supplemented this offseason. We'll see where those supplements come from. But, can you get the most out of them? Because you look at again, like the Patriots with Drake May, it's not like they were scoring 28 points per game, okay? They were doing just enough in some of these games offensively to get them by, and their defense was playing really, really well. Look at the Seattle Seahawks. They got their new version of the Legion of Boom, so to speak. So, that's, I think, what frustrates Browns fans even more is that you had a defense capable of doing what the Broncos, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Patriots have been doing this year, and you're the one that's shopping for yet another head coach while those teams were playing for a Super Bowl berth.
Daryl Ryder, brought to you by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. So what do you think it would be the plan of attack? Because whoever you get, and Lima, we might have to just talk about Nate Shieldhouse and what we actually know. Some people want to know some things here. So I understand that there's a connection, even though I've never met the man. We'll have to talk about that coming up at 8:45. However, what do you think would be the plan of attack in free agency with either one of these guys, the two new guys? We could go over Schwartz, but either way, what would be the plan of attack in assembling a coaching staff? We should probably go coaching staff before we talk about any of the other players.
Yeah, I mean...
do you think like they would be tasked with calling plays? Would Nate Shieldhouse be given the head coach and be told to be the play caller?
No, I don't, because he's not done that before, right? And that's the difference. Kevin did it. I mean, that was Kevin's calling card when he came here, right? Oh, he's a great play caller. He's going to keep doing it. That was until Ken Dorsey and Tommy Rees showed up. So, that's all well and good. And again, that's a great talking point for us. I don't think it matters. To me, it comes down to players. Okay, I'm not trying to discount it, but it comes down to the players. I think there's more on the front office to get players in here that can play we've seen a lot of these rookies around the league. Like they got to find their Carson Schlesinger on offense desperately. They got to find their Myles Garrett on offense. They got to find their Denzel Ward on offense. Number one wide receiver is critical. You got to find a left tackle. Certainly a right tackle that can stay on the field would be very helpful at this point. You might need to add another tight end because I don't know that David Njoku comes back here. He's going to be a free agent. So there's a decision that has to be made there. And then it's the same argument or conversation we have had for the last 27 years, and that is what on earth to do at quarterback. Can you patch it? Can you find a bridge guy that can win you some games until you can develop Shedeur Sanders or somebody else? Or, do you have to go swinging for the fences somewhere here in the next 2 years? But I don't. The challenge for the Browns is I don't think that there's a long-term solution at that position available to them right now. That's not to say that something can't present itself, but as we talk right now, I think that they're staring a temporary solution in the face, and they're going to need some time to figure that position out.
Any big takeaways from this weekend? Anything that you can point to and say, hey, this is what the Browns need to be doing going forward?
Well, it still boggles my mind that head coaches are giving up kicking field goals to go for it on fourth down. That obviously bit Sean Payton in the backside yesterday. But my overall takeaway from championship weekend is that you can win with average offense and a stellar defense. And it would be nice if the Browns could approach anything resembling an average offense. Because look, I know they had the boots put to them a couple of games, and we talked about that throughout the season where they got blown out by multiple scores. But there were also a lot of games this year where they were competitive, and the offense just couldn't do squat. So hopefully they can find a quality bridge quarterback to make this thing watchable for fans this fall while they continue to try and figure that position out. You need a number one wide receiver. There's no question about that. Jerry Jeudy's not a number one wide receiver. They're asking him to do things that's not in his toolbox. And then the good news is it feels like they do have a strong running game, the Browns, right, with the two young backs in Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. The fact that they got those two young guys, I think that sets them up for some success on the ground. But you got to find some guys that can block right now, too.
Thank you for the hot times, Daryl. All the very best to you and yours.
You got it, guys. Hopefully next time we talk, we got a head coach, right?
Yeah, it'd be awesome. Daryl Ryder. Brought to you by Owen. What are they brought to you by?
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
All right, it really does matter more than you think, and we'll talk about that coming up here at 9 o'clock. But you want to give some background on Nate Shieldhouse and what we know if they decide to hire him today?
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's do it, because there's a lot of people going, Ken, you know more than you're letting on. Tone, you know more than you're letting on. Yeah, we do, but we didn't want it to seem like it was this isn't a campaign. This isn't a political campaign. It's the next Browns head coach. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on the Fan.
Real estate market.
fun at MGM Northfield Park. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
When there's news that affects the Cleveland sports fan, Daryl Ryder is on top of every headline. Listen to his reports on the station with the most local sports talk in town. 92.3 The Fan, powered by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store. The radio home of the NFL in Cleveland.
This penalty's declined.
We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
All right, so let's get into it right now. There is a clear connection. The Browns, I think, are going to make an offer today. I'm not sure if it's going to be to Nate Shieldhouse or it's going to be to Grant Udinski. I got a feeling I think it's going to be to Shieldhouse, but that's just me thinking right off the top of my head, okay? Now, we have been pretty quiet about Nate Shieldhouse for the last 3 weeks. I had mentioned him in passing to Tone, and then as Tone will do, Tone decided to throw it out there on a Wednesday right after Kevin got let go because Tone likes to, be Tone. And so he threw it out there, and then we found out that everybody found out later throughout the weekend that they were going to interview Nate Shieldhouse, the Browns were. Now, this is what we know. I didn't want to make a big deal. I told you guys on Thursday I didn't want to make a big deal about it because I think people would see right through it, and they would accuse me of just wanting a guy that I know who he worked with in the past, right? So I didn't want to sound like I was doing a political campaign for a guy. There are there are pros, there are cons. The cons are he's only 35 years old. The cons are is that, you got to really roll up your sleeves. The cons are, frankly, that you guys don't trust this Browns front office. And the record over the last 6 years would show you that you have no reason to trust them over the last 6 years. So that is all warranted. Okay, I can't deny that. The pros are that he has worked in several different offenses, and he's worked with an offense. He's called plays before. He just called plays in the Big 12 at Iowa State. Now, a lot of you go, what's Iowa State? Well, if you listen to the show for any modicum of time, Anthony and I know very well about Iowa State football, and that it's very hard to win at Iowa State, and it's very hard to win at a high level. And I'll give you guys this. What he did, they came off a 4-8 season. The offense was bad. There were questions about the offense, question about the philosophy behind the offense. Nate Shieldhouse was bumped up to play caller. Immediately, they made a jump in their offense. Immediately, they had a jump enough in their offense to where eventually Sean McVay saw that. Immediately, there was an impact. Now, that all pointed out, can you draw blood from a stone? Because I'm going to say this to people, and I think that a lot of people are going to go against me on this, is like, okay, what can you do with the current quarterback room that the Browns had? Well, again, this was a guy who was tasked with drawing the best play he could out of the Iowa State quarterback room that at one point had Brock Purdy, but I can tell you this, after they won the 9 games and went to the Fiesta Bowl in 2020 and 2021, they only won 7, and Brock had a bit of a down year, which I think is what led to him being Mr. Irrelevant. And I think is what sowed the seeds of what was coming up at 4-8 and why they made their change and had Nate Shieldhouse bumped up to the play caller. So he's done it before. Now, I don't know if I would just make him the NFL play caller now, but there's definitely something there where if you want your offense to get a boost and fresh ideas, hey, man, you have what you have. You don't have a lot. And what Daryl said is right. Jerry Jeudy is not a number one, a legit big-time number one in this league. He's number one on this team because we don't have one. Harold Fannin Jr. is young and exciting. You have Quinshon Judkins. Now, I think if you got Nate Shieldhouse, I think that there would be a possibility that you're in the conversation about Breece Hall at some point. But I think that you'll have fresh ideas and you have something offensively to work with. He's a guy that is very highly thought of around certain coaching circles. And I will tell you guys this right now, obviously, those coaching circles are circles that I would trust with my football team.
Well, what's so interesting, Ken, about this is obviously the guy he was working under at Iowa State, Matt Campbell, there had been overtures made for 5 years from NFL teams that had reached out, may have talked to him, may have inquired about his interest in the NFL. We're talking about Matt Campbell here. And now he's the head coach of Penn State. And so for Matt Campbell to sign off on somebody like Shieldhouse, which he absolutely has, that is very interesting to me. In the past, we had really separated the NFL and college football as two completely different entities. But what's very interesting post-COVID and now NIL world and transfer portal world is there seems to have become a blurring of the lines between college coaching and NFL coaching. And what I mean by that is, no, there's not head coaches coming from college football that are having a tremendous amount of success in the NFL. What I'm talking about is, did you see who just became the offensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Arthur Smith.
Who is the defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Matt Patricia.
That stuff never used to happen at the regularity that it is starting to become. Like, it's kind of being treated as both jobs are very similar now. Both factions, NFL, college, coordinators. We still haven't seen the coaches maneuver. Like, we would almost have to see Ryan Day take off for the NFL and then be good for the NFL owners to start saying, oh, yeah, we should just raid all the best coaches. Like, Kirk Cignetti's having a good season. Let's take him. Like, we're not really seeing that as of yet. But, guys, the time is coming. There's starting to be a lot of similarities between the two jobs, and it's impossible to ignore. So while it looks on paper, and I question this, man, I can't remember if this guy gets the head coaching job for the Browns. I have yet to see a guy this inexperienced. Like, yeah, Gerard Mayo had no experience, but he had played in the NFL for many years. Shieldhouse has it. Like, he only has last year and this year as any kind of NFL experience. So that would be the ding against him. But I'm telling you that they are becoming more and more open-minded about college and NFL, and they're starting to blur the lines between the two in a big way.
Yeah. So would you give your blessing to Nate Shieldhouse if they were to?
Boy, that's tough.
It's a weird way to put it, I know.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, I told you that, and this would, if at the beginning of this process I stood on the table for Jim Schwartz, people would be like, really? The guy that had that record in Detroit had Matt Stafford and had that record? Like, I get it. It was a long time ago. And I get how people are looking at Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh. And he's won way more than Jim Schwartz has.
Yeah.
So I'm guilty of being very conservative on this time around. Here's what I'm nervous about. How does Udinski or Shieldhouse, how did they command a room if it's a typical Browns start? And they're going to be expected to be one of the worst teams in football this year. That is a fact. Yeah. I hate to say that.
You said they were closer than what a lot of people thought, though. I kind of wanted to examine that at one point.
But record-wise, I'll absolutely do it because I think I can make the case for it. They just need a quarterback. But that's the NFL. That's the NFL day. But with that defense, like their defense, the Browns' defense would have been just as good as all these defenses playing last weekend, this weekend, next weekend. They're better than the Rams. I should say they're better. I think on paper they're better than the Patriots defense. But hey, here's the Patriots. They're here. They're doing unbelievable things. Patriots don't have a Myles Garrett. I'll tell you that much. But I question what that would look like if they get off to the typical Browns start. How does Shieldhouse or Udinski command a room when they haven't really achieved anything at that level in the NFL in terms of a leadership position?
This is where you're going to have to ask, and I know he was more vocal this last year. You got to find your best player to be a leader. And he was more vocal this last year. He's going to have to continue to be vocal.
You're talking Miles?
Yes. I mean, you can go in there. I mean, your captains are your captains. They got to be a guy who is the conduit between the rest of the players and the coach. That's clear. But Miles is still one of your captains, obviously, because he's the best player you have, and he has to be that conduit. And the stuff about, whether or not, I can't deny it. I think that there were a lot of things that Myles Garrett questioned with Kevin Stefanski. Whether it be in philosophy or anything like that offensively, I think that Myles was pretty upset at times where they were left in some bad situations. And frankly, I can understand that. I really can. There's going to have to be, we're all in this together type of feelings for Myles Garrett for the rest of the team because they'll go the way Myles goes. Now, they're still not that talented of a group on offense. I mean, as of right now, we have 3 months until the draft. I still don't know how much that's going to help, but the stuff with Miles and kind of giving the side eye in the background during some of the speeches, you're going to have to see different. You're going to have to see different. 216-474-0092. I think it matters more than what we think. Can you find yourself being excited by one of these guys? Or is there a difference between hope? Because I can't give you much excitement. I can only give you hope. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
This
Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
You can now watch The Fan live on YouTube. Catch the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima from 6 till 10 a.m. Baskin and Phelps 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. And Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin from 2 to 7 p.m. Each and every weekday. It's free. Subscribe to 92.3 The Fan on YouTube.
Your chance to win a pair of tickets to the 26th Greater Cleveland Sports Awards Rocket Arena, Thursday, February 5th. Get tickets at clevelandsportsawards.com. Enter the word sports by the end of the hour. 923thefan.com to get registered to win. That's sports.
Gray Udinsky, Nate Shieldhouse, Jim Schwartz. Would there be anybody you're really excited about? Excited. Hope? I think you're a Browns fan. If you're listening to this, I think there's hope. Excitement? That's a different thing. Unless there are still the Shadorians that are listening to us. Maybe they were going, well, what's he plan to do with Shador? Okay, that's a conversation.
You know what? I am really curious.
Do Shadorians get mad at being called Shadorians?
Probably.
Do they?
Yeah, probably.
There's way worse things to call people who are fans of a quarterback, right?
Baker Bros.
See, I didn't want to say that because they took that in the wrong fashion. Mm-hmm. I don't think Shadorian's a bad word. Is there another word?
I mean, you're just trying to talk your way through it right now.
Yes, I obviously am. I don't
know that you're doing a good job.
Shadorian is easier to say than Shador Sanders fans every time. Because there are people who are listening to this clearly just because they're Shador Sanders fans. But I mean, we're at an odd time right now in our Browns history. I can't deny that. But it's like, okay, does any of these guys have any idea about what to do with the quarterback position? Is the biggest thing.
I think their fans are cool with whoever has an open mind when it comes to Shador and would be probably favoring Shador to start, come September.
Well, I would favor Shador to start come September right now. Wouldn't I?
Yeah, I'm talking about when the offseason's over and they have a competition or have somebody who could compete.
Okay, but
him.
I can only go by what I know, and if it's these three QBs that are still the guys, and I want him to start week one, Shador.
Yeah.
Do you want to explore other options?
But we've talked about that.
You have to explore other options. They're clearly exploring other options.
They don't want them to explore other options.
Oh, well,
they just want him to be the quarterback.
Well, I'm sorry. Then I guess we have a disagreement there, and I'm willing to have that conversation. I don't want to have an argument with anybody, but we can have a conversation, a discussion, a spirited discussion, if you will.
Would you care if the new head coach came in and said, I don't plan to explore other options, Shador's the guy?
Well, then you'd know why he got hired.
Yes, I would have a problem with that.
But then you'd know exactly why he got hired, right?
Why?
Because he told
Shador?
Andrew Berry, I can make your life so easy. You don't have to do anything at the quarterback position. You don't need to pay Malik Willis. You don't need to...
Would you believe that, though, if a guy said that to you?
If you're the Browns?
Would you... I don't know if I'd want to believe a guy who just comes in here and goes, you don't have to get anybody. Really? Then why did your team pass on him 5 times over? Right or wrong? Right or wrong?
Well, I guess it depends on which... For instance, we know of 2 teams that were interested in Shador last year, right?
Okay. And where are their assistants? You had Todd Monken who applied here, so maybe did they want to ask Todd Monken what he thought of Shador? And maybe that's it.
Yeah,
maybe that's why they interviewed him. What could you have done with Shador? Because from what the reports were that we got, it's that he would have just said, no, you would have started him too soon. That's what I wouldn't have done with him. Is that what it was? I'm being serious. I want to know. Because I think it's all up for grabs, but if it were to be this group, they'll play Shador week 1. I've seen worse play the position for the Cleveland Browns. I've seen better. But in the last 25, 26 years, list isn't that long, even though all the numbers would say, Kenny, you're full of it. Okay, I've been full of it before. But I mean, is that where I said we're arguing in the dumpster? Where we were arguing between the stats of DT? It was DTR. That's where I said, we are in the dumpster fighting over bread heels right now, you and I. Because it was the DTR argument you brought up. And then it was Malik Willis and all the other stuff.
I think
that's where it went.
Lived so much in the dumpster the last 3 years.
Yeah, we don't understand that. Do we not understand that someone's reaching to give us a way out?
And dumpster living's not for everyone.
No, it's not.
Once you're here and you get used to it, you stop realizing where you're at.
Rummaging through the dumpster for a Playboy or a private magazine. You don't want to look that one up. Don't go look that one up. 216-474-0092. All right, Cleveland and Cleveland. Is there anybody here that would provide excitement for you? Cleveland. All right. Would you be excited about anybody? I don't know if I could provide excitement on any of them. It would just be hope.
Yeah, like I don't think any of these guys, you're going to sit there and start talking trash to your Steeler neighbors or any Baltimore fans you might have in your life. Like, I don't think you're getting that because it's a wait and see, obviously. And by the way, Steeler fans are totally out what I saw on Mike McCarthy. I mean, they didn't want him at all.
I'm glad you brought that up.
But, you mentioned early in the show, you're like, yeah, but they'll probably go 9-8 with Mike McCarthy this year. What will the Browns go with Grant Udinski or Shieldhouse this season?
That's all. I have no idea about where they
would probably pick them to go less than 9-8.
Yeah, certainly. Their quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. But boy, that's interesting because if they don't get Aaron Rodgers back, what's their quarterback situation in Pittsburgh? Is it better drawn up than ours? Like, if you look at a guy like,
is it?
Well, I'm just asking because if you look at a guy like Arthur Smith, if you bring that spot up, okay, are their quarterbacks without Aaron Rodgers? How much better are their quarterbacks than our quarterbacks? Not better. So Aaron Rodgers makes a difference. Certainly makes a difference. Keeps a defense honest. Even I know at his advanced age, he keeps an offense honest. You have a guy who runs the ball a lot better. Now, I know that he's not a popular figure. I know. I get it. Fine. I didn't think it was such a bad hire for Ohio State, considering that you always want to try to run the football, and they're always struggling when and when not to run the football. I think he'll figure out exactly when and when not to run the football. I think that he'll scheme up a good offensive game. But I'm just pointing out that if we're talking about these hires going on in this division, all right, Jesse Minter, I think you're looking at some more of the same, more defense. I think that you're going to have somebody connected to the offense, and you're just going to let that person work with Lamar, and it might be Lamar's guy who they're just going to let do that. Over in Pittsburgh, Mike McCarthy's probably going to generate something of decency when it comes to the quarterback position, and I'm sure they'll be in play for maybe the best of the bridge guys that are out there, maybe the best of the thrift quarterbacks that are out there. For us, we got to find a guy that until we find our quarterback can get the best out of a not-so-great situation. If we have Deshaun, we have Shador, or we have Dylan Gabriel. So that's why Udinski and Shieldhouse are right there at the tippy top. With Schwartz, that would be the third, and I think that it would have to be that today Udinski would have had to have rubbed them the wrong way on Friday, or Shieldhouse would have to rub them the wrong way today. And if they were to rub them the wrong way both times, then maybe that it would just be Jim Schwartz.
Man, an interview. I do wonder,
but
when
I think
you
an
get to
offer is
this
going to be made
stage,
today.
when you get to this stage, like, is the interview the thing that clinches it? I guess if you had everybody on equal footing, but I always assume they're not on equal footing. I always assume that, you come with 3 just in case you get turned down. You have
Isn't that how they picked Tomlin over there in Pittsburgh? Didn't they bring him in and they were wild in the interview?
No, I don't doubt that you can be wild, but you've already interviewed these guys, right? You've already had your discussions with them.
But this would be in person.
Like if
you had Udinski in person finally, then you'll have Shieldhouse in person. Like in person, I think it's going to be different. You spend time with them. There's things that you could put on a Zoom that you can't put on in person. Like you have to eventually let your guard down.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Like, do you think all present, when this is said and done, you'll have 32 head coaches in the NFL. Did they all get their job because they interviewed well? Like, I kind of feel like sometimes the interview isn't what truly puts you over the edge.
How could it not help?
It's not that it doesn't help.
Isn't that what we argued about Eric Bieniemy for a while?
But I
Isn't
think
that what they all kept claiming, that it wasn't a good interview?
Yeah, but are you telling me Nick Sirianni gave a good interview when the guy couldn't even talk once the cameras were turned on?
I think there's a tremendous difference between the cameras being turned on for a guy and then actually talking football and making a general manager feel better about things and an owner feel better about things.
There are a lot of guys. Maybe I'm talking to my corporate friends too much. There's a lot of guys that can look good in an interview that when it actually comes to doing their job, like there's such a selection bias in that, and that somebody will blow you away in an interview. I think that's happened with us before, that there's been somebody to blow you away, and then when it comes to actually doing your job on a daily basis, it's like, oh yeah, he just got up for the interview. He got coached really well. So I don't necessarily want the interview to be the end all.
Well, I understand you want a guy getting plucked, but I think that these three guys are the ones that you've plucked, or at least the other two. I mean, leave Schwartz out of it. He's been in the NFL forever, so you kind of know what you're getting with him. But with the other two, you don't bring them up if nobody else is excited about him in the NFL. So you bring them in for an interview. You want a little bit more. If the interview wasn't important, then they wouldn't have the interview.
Well,
So
I think you might be listening to your corporate friends too much, because I don't know what their business is, but generally we have seen at least some sort of what these people are doing in a product level, right? Coaching wise. And I know Shieldhouse isn't calling plays and Udinsky's not calling plays, but you're at least seeing what their name is attached to out there and hoping that you're going to get some version of what you liked from where they were in their previous stops, right? Like,
well, I think
in a strictly interview, and I don't know these guys' basis, like, you're right, you can get wowed by smooth talkers and sweet talkers that can lull you into a false sense of reality. But you know what you're getting with these guys for the most part, as far as who they are, what systems they come from, and what their philosophies and beliefs are.
I think more valuable to them than even the interviews were probably when Jeremy Fowler said they were making 40 calls on a candidate, and getting real background, nitty-gritty guys that are willing to share some honesty, or at least people the Browns felt could be honest with them. When they're making all those calls, I think that was way more valuable than somebody face-to-face in a 3-hour setting telling you, let's be honest, when you get to this stage, is there some telling you what you want to hear?
Of course there is, but I think that's why you spend the time with them, so you're not just being told what you want, what they think you want to hear. It's exactly what you are.
Your thought right now is that it is a 3-way tie, and whoever interviews the best getting the job. Because I do not think it's that at all.
I think very well they could be flying out there today to be making an offer to him, is what I think that they could be doing. But I also think that, you want to make damn sure as you do it that you go through all the hoops that you're supposed to go through in terms of hiring someone in the first place, and then you go through and make sure that you're getting it, because you don't want, as much as we all think that this isn't going to work out, that they're just going to be hiring somebody in the next 2 years, that can't be what Jimmy Haslam's thinking. And if it is, then get Andrew off the plane, get them all off the plane, and start fresh, which is probably something what a lot of fans want to do. But this is what you have to think of. If you're Jimmy, this guy, your ultimate goal is to not have to hire another head coach for the next 20 years. That is what you are looking for. I want somebody at 35 years old that at 55 years old will finally be calling it a career in the NFL. That's my goal. And if that's not your goal, if it's just to get through this, then why is Andrew even on the plane? So there has to be some trust in Andrew, whether we like it or not. Because there isn't a whole lot of trust outside of Berea of what Andrew's done. This last draft's been great. The other drafts have been either a mix or not good at all. The free agency stuff, we brought that up a million. I mean, I could list it off all I want, but we know where fans are. There's not a lot of trust for the guy. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, Ken, you're saying exactly what we all said would have happened. Okay, but this is still Jimmy's decision. So if you're taking him out there, if there's some thought in your head of this guy's going to be here for 2 years, I mean, think about this. This guy's you're going to ask this guy, even Udinsky as well. Udinsky's a single guy, right? I'm going to have this guy uproot himself or another guy uproot. I think Shieldhouse is married. You're going to uproot him and his family, move them from Los Angeles, California to Cleveland, Ohio, to a suburb in Cleveland, do all this stuff, and you're only going to want him to be head coach for 2 years, and then we'll get our stuff figured out? We'll get our stuff figured out after we fire you. And what kind of thought is that? Now, it could very well work out that way because that's the way it's worked out with the Browns so many times before, but it can't be their goal. There has to be, we have to specify the difference in tone, what the Browns are trying to do, what Jimmy's trying to do, and what the fans think is going to happen. As much as I may think, you don't have a quarterback, and or the quarterback you do have, I mean, you got to figure out a way to get him through the woods, and that's the odds are going to be stacked against him, which is the truth. You don't have a number one wide receiver. You don't have an offensive line. There's a lot that's going against you. That's why it would be easier to go, okay, Jim's going to be the guy, because he's 59 years old. If they were to hire Jim, that would be the more way I'm thinking. That, okay, we'll figure it out once we get through this. That would be how your thought is. But if you're hiring a 30-year-old or a 35-year-old, you're making this decision thinking this guy's going to be my head coach until I'm done owning this football team. How old's Jimmy? 60s, mid-60s? You're going to think you're 85 years old by the time 59? That this guy's done. Jim Haslam.
Oh, okay. Schwartz.
He's in the 60s. You got to think I'm 85 or 80 whatever years old by the time this guy's done being my head coach. At least 80.
He's 71.
He's 71? Hey, you're going to be a very, very, very old man by the time that should be your goal. If it's not, then what are we even doing this in the first place? 216-474-0092. How realistic that is to everybody, that's on you guys. And frankly, because of how this league is, because of what we don't have, yeah, it's probably more that way. But that still needs to be their goal. Or we're just shouting into the wind, and I might as well make my next list coming up this fall. I'm going to get to you guys on this. Do you think that we're in a better spot than either one of these teams with the Ravens and the Steelers? Do you think we might be in a better spot than the Steelers now?
Oh, I think it has more to do with the roster. I think the Steelers, they're in an awful roster situation.
Let's discuss that. Ken Carman, Tone Master General, and you guys on the Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for
on the Odyssey app. Headline Sports News every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
So would any one of these guys excite you? But the fights are going on. Social media reactions brought to you by
Scheibman Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
It's even going back to the search of it, Real Xavier P. So when the Jets get the, quote, you let Darnold go treatment like we get with the fourth best QB in the 2018 draft. Now the coaching search. So mostly everyone said the top guys wouldn't come here, and they're asking us to have a normal search. Can someone enlighten us to what the normal search is? If we don't know what other teams are doing, how can we talk about the Browns? We just had a coach for 6 seasons when others only keep their coaches for 2 seasons. I just think it goes back to the history of just, hey, whatever your record is, people are going to judge you by it. I think Xavier's looking deeply into it, and I appreciate it, but you got to understand, you're talking to a fan base that won 8 games the last 2 years. So if I sit there and go, hey, they really know what they're doing, you ain't going to believe that.
It did seem like the pile-on over the weekend that came from...
It was strong.
It did seem like the league kind of did think the Browns were doing stuff a little bit oddly. Now, I told you again, personality test, that's normal. That's actually a pretty standard thing. But when it got to the essay, now, to be fair, Daryl Ryder said, according to his source, it's not even true. So, Pelissaro wrote that he had heard that. I know one question that Andrew Berry is 100% going to be asked next time we get a chance to talk to him, unless he punts on the interview opportunity. Will he stand up and take questions this time? I hope so. He didn't last year. But that is one question that certainly will be asked.
Safety
this
off.
time, right? Like Jeff Chanel is going to ask that question.
Well, he's going to be out there when they introduce a new head coach, right? They're not going to march that guy out there by himself.
The only way I can explain it is that, okay, we all did say, and Xavier P's right, we all did say that you're not going to get the big names out there. They're not going to come flocking towards you. Your quarterback situation isn't that great. Your offensive line situation, this, that, and the other. We all know. So if your situation ain't that great, then how do I know I'm getting the very best? I don't know. So I got to figure out, not just talking to other people and talking to friends or like coaching friends and coaching circles, things like that. What makes this guy make me want to buy into him as a head coach? Nate Scheelhaus, whether it be Grant Udinski. I think you kind of already have a sense of what's going on with Jim Schwartz in so many ways. But when it comes to the other two guys, what is going to make you do it? So S.A., I don't know if I'd go all that far, even though that Daryl says a source told him that's balderdash. I don't know if I'd go as far as that, but when you have a team that has consistently been underperforming, underachieving for the people have long memories here. They're not going to trust you until you get it right, and you have to get it right for a long period of time. I thought this with you. I said this off the air. I listened to Jim Nantz and CBS as the minutes tick down, and the Patriots are going back to the Super Bowl, and they're so excited for Bob Kraft. I go, do we not remember what Bob Kraft was involved in? Do we not remember this? It's like, yeah, your ownership, your organization is only as good as what your last record is and what your players you got. 9 organizations out of 10, 99 out of 100. Other than that, it's kind of like, the difference between the Browns and the New England Patriots is Drake May. And there's no Drake May in this draft, so we're going to have to continue to wait on Drake May. Unless you want to force it with Ty Simpson and call him our Bo Nix.
Yeah, all
right, well, you better have a guy who's going to be pretty offensive to get things going with.
If we had Drake May with our defense, are we not playing this weekend, or at least in the hunt to play this weekend?
Probably are. Even though Will Campbell's back, I think that offensive line's probably better than ours. But I think a Patriots fan would probably disagree, considering all fans think that their offensive lines are terrible.
Their tackles were getting smoked. I feel like every team's tackles are getting smoked every week in the NFL now.
Certainly, Will Anderson a couple of weeks ago took Will Campbell for a ride, so I understand that. 216-474-0092. It's a tough thing to gauge, and that's why I think that they're doing a little bit more on that. SA seemed to be a little odd. Fair, but I think that this is why you bring up all this. 216-474-0092. Let me get to Bob in Columbus. Hello, Bob.
Hey, good morning, Ken. How are you? How are you and Anthony doing?
We're doing well, Bob. Go right on ahead.
I kind of feel like I'm in a Brownies. I'm like in a qualified listener interview right now, because the two of you probably want to grill me and ask me why would you call, But two things were said, just bullet points. Two things you guys said just a little bit ago, which was, one, looking for a magazine in a dumpster. It took me back some years ago to walking through an alleyway that Anthony would know because it was behind a venue on High Street here in Columbus. And someone said, don't stand next to that dumpster too close because there's rats in there. And then it took me back another thing, because I'm 69 years old. It took me back to another time where I was in a fraternity and we were walking down from Fraternity Row on 17th, and there was a purple Monte Carlo drove past, and instead of having a back window, it had like a bunny, Playboy bunny cutout.
Well, those were the old days, yeah.
And someone said, hey, what's that all about? And someone said, oh, that's so-and-so, and the so-and-so was a Heisman Trophy winner. So,
Tony, you got anything to say to that? All right, Bob.
I remember Pearl Alley very well.
Thank you very much.
Up on him. I want to hear.
What about Anthony Lynn? Is he just like a call in and make a quota, or is he for real?
No, Anthony Lynn.
Well, I think it's a backup plan.
Bob, thank you very much for the call. I don't think Anthony Lynn is a. Maybe he is. I mean, they. Long-standing guy. I think they. I hate to say it. They probably.
Do we have to talk about the Rooney Rule thing? Because every tweet over the weekend was the Browns aren't Rooney Rule compliant, and I'm like, this is a non-story. The Browns are going to be Rooney Rule compliant. We can attack the merits of the Rooney Rule and the unintended consequences and all of that. But as I said last week, like there's been no
Well, the
team...
unintended consequences isn't like Anthony Lynn. I have a lot of respect for Anthony Lynn. I know it didn't work out for the Chargers, but it's like, are you wasting his time? Are you really going through
Well,
it?
you'll have to ask him.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask him if he thought, his agent thought they were wasting his time. I mean, look, the reality is, again, I stressed this last week, there's been no team that has embraced the hiring of minorities like the Browns. They've done it with females, with African Americans. They've done it. It's spanned the entire, not only in their scouting, like they've done it. They groomed GMs that were minorities that have gone other places and been the lead GMs. Like nobody's done it like the Browns have. I was never worried that they were going to get docked, lose draft picks, get fined. That was ridiculous. And anybody telling you that was going to be an issue for the Browns, to me, I get accused all the time of trying to scare Browns fans and doom and gloom. This was not one of them. Other people were doing that when it came to the Rooney Rule. They were always going to be compliant. It's like saying, gee, I don't know, are the Browns going to get under the salary cap next year? Yes, along with 31 other teams, they will all work under the salary cap every single year.
I think about the salary cap
So yes, guess what? Every team going through the hiring process will, when all is said and done, be cleared by the NFL for operating within the confines of the Rooney Rule.
Well, I think everybody
There's never a doubt.
I think
they were not going to miss out on their next head coach because they couldn't hire somebody. They knew who the pool of candidates were. They knew the other coaches that might get hired somewhere else. This was never a concern. It's why I didn't spend 1 second dwelling on this over the last few days, and I could not believe the amount of people wasting their energy. Unfortunately, some people here at this station wasting your energy.
I didn't hear much on the air about it.
Are the Browns gonna cross the T's and dot the I's with the Rooney Rule? Yes, and they did. End of story. End of non-story.
216-474-0092. Sean in Cleveland, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Sean. Sean, go ahead.
So I was walking into the door. I just think they should have got the connection from Kevin Stefanski, gone a long time ago when they let Baker go. If that was a decision that they were going to generally do, which I felt, Kevin, quote unquote, that wasn't my quarterback. But most successful years that we didn't have recently was with, Baker Mayfield. And he's still having success over at, the Buccaneers. So at the end of the day, who was the real problem? And I felt like that just was something that didn't really make sense to me. And then we still keeping Andrew Berry for him to make another decision as a head coach.
Sean, who do you want the Browns to hire?
I would go with Jim Schwartz. I would go with Jim Schwartz, or I would generally keep looking. because, another offensive-minded correspondent, I think, is, not necessary for the Browns. I think we need somebody that's on the defensive side that if the offense isn't really working, which the defense held a lot this year, I feel like they will continue to hold. And I feel like Jim Schwartz is probably the best option since there's been guys pulling out because of the quarterback situation.
All right, Sean, thank you very much for the call. What is going on today?
I think we need to discuss that.
What is going on today? Is it because of the snow?
It's almost like some people got in today and they haven't been able to get in since Baker left. How many years ago?
We had the call earlier.
So
the
guy
guy
on record right now.
We had the call earlier. The guy who just wanted to go over this. The guy who was telling me about Playboys in a dumpster was the best call we've had today.
They weren't in the dumpster. There were rats in the dumpster.
There were rats in the dumpster.
Remember that dumpster? It was
and then the guy had the Playboy bunny in the back window.
Yeah, and he won the Heisman. I'm assuming that's Eddie
And
George.
that's been
It was
the
best part of
Playboy bunnies in the window were big in the 90s.
Eddie George because he said it was in the 60s.
No, Playboy bunnies in the back window were big in the 90s.
Now we got to redo the call.
Call up at 216-474-0090. Well, you don't remember. There were fuzzy dice. Remember the Crown air freshener that they had on the dash in the 90s? Do you remember that, Owen? Or do you remember? I can't be the only one who remembers the Crown air freshener.
What about the hands sticking out of the trunk?
No, they do that on Halloween now. Sorry. I get one of the holidays to get. I knew I'd get one. There was that. There was the Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh.
Going number one on anything, either a Ford or a Chevy or a Dodge or one of the Japanese makes or
Texas Longhorn.
Texas Longhorn. Yeah, there was that. There was a Michigan logo. Yep. There was those. There was the No Fear in the back window.
No Fear was big, the eyeballs.
Yeah, those were big. What is with the calls today?
Subpar. Just like that.
Subpar.
Just like that.
Nice.
Just like that first football game, second half yesterday. Oh, by the way, Tom Brady. Did he have his coming out party as a broadcaster yesterday?
Yes, I think he has.
I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. He had an entire, I would say, segment. He had an entire breakdown of Smith and Jigma and how his alignment with his shoulders.
The 7 route.
That he wasn't giving away what he was going to do. I've never heard now, I haven't watched the clinics like Ken has.
Of course.
What?
The Glazier clinics. The Glazier clinics. I haven't paid attention to the stature of wide receivers and how they go about their entire stance. Because this is what Tom Brady was breaking down yesterday. And I'm like, this is nitty gritty football. Tony Romo, you're not getting any of that right now.
No.
Tony Romo, look, there was a story last week. There was a story last week that some people were seething within CBS that Tony Romo was coming under fire, but I think that story only comes out maybe the light of fire under Tony Romo.
Were they mad at Tony Romo or were they mad at people being critical of Tony Romo?
They were mad that people were being critical, but I wondered if that only saw the light of day because some executives are like, we're paying him how much?
Well,
and now everybody's praising Tom Brady?
Well, wait a minute. If you're seething, then that just goes to support your quarterback. It's the same. I mean, it's the same thing of what it was when they were both playing. One quarterback was way better, and then Cowboys fans, like the one guy who literally offered to fight everybody on the cruise that we were on over Tony Romo. And here we are again. One quarterback's better at breaking it all down than the other quarterback, and apparently somebody's willing to fight everybody over defending Tony Romo.
It's like the guy who was the greatest of all time is really good at it, and the guy who never won a playoff game.
He's not that,
not as good at it.
I'm sorry, but Owen's right. It went right like his career. When Tom Brady first started, it was like, okay, let's see where this goes.
Getting carried by the defense and special teams.
Maybe he's just getting carried by everybody else in the network, and then they give you a chance to really break it down, and he's over there arm slots and bad weather and talking about the wide receivers and showing off there.
We just say
it's clear.
CBS, it's time for an overhaul. We're not CBS Sports.
I'm not willing to go that far.
We're not CBS Sports Radio anymore.
Wait a minute. No, shut up. We have friends.
We do.
That call in to the shows that work for that network. Let's not go that far with it.
I'm just saying, Jim Nantz is already, when's his last season?
I don't know. I don't know when he's ever.
He's made a few announcements.
He's already done with college
basketball. He's only doing the
basketball.
Masters until 2058.
I think we're ready for a new number one and number two. You'd think CBS would probably try to steal.
Those are not my words.
Try to steal Greg Olsen from Fox.
Those are not my words.
Because Greg Olsen, I think, has proven himself number one A team.
Oh, we have
caliber.
breaking news. Do we have breaking news? Is this real? Do we have breaking news? Hold on. It's all right, we got breaking news. We got breaking news. What's breaking
Marinelli,
news?
he's
Brought
our
to you
next
by-
coach.
What's brought to you by?
Let me hit this.
Yeah. According to, is this the real one? Okay. Adam Schefter, Jaguars OC Grant Yudinsky, has informed the Browns he's removing himself from consideration for their head coach position per a source. Yudinsky has a new deal in place with Jacksonville that will bump his pay for next season.
Wow.
But the Jaguars are allowing him to continue pursuing the Bills' head coaching job. If Yudinsky doesn't get the Buffalo job, he will be back as Jaguars OC.
I don't remember so many guys all pulling out from one team. I've seen it happen here and there with various teams. How many guys now? McDaniel, right? How many guys have we had officially pull out?
Jesse Minter.
Not Phillip Rivers.
We had guys refuse
Not on this job.
We had guys refuse to interview with
Not
the
yet.
Browns as well.
Yes.
So was he using us for a pay bump, or did he just know he wasn't getting the job, and here we go?
Yeah, I think he knows he's not getting the job. I told you. I think we're going to get an offer today, and I think whenever that plane arrives, there's people tracking planes. Whenever it touches down in Los Angeles, California, I think you're going to have yourself a new head coach. 216-474-0092.
I wonder what Jim Schwartz thinks of all this.
I think Jim Schwartz is ready to roll up his sleeves and work with his defense with Nate Shieldhouse.
It'd be really awkward if he pulls his name out of it and he goes, but I'm going to be the DC.
I'm going to stay here and be the DC.
That'd be awesome. The word you're looking for is awesome if he pulled his name from consideration for the head coach, as he'll remain the DC of the Cleveland. They ought to do it just to troll everybody now that we know it's now that we strongly believe it's going to be Nate Shieldhouse, right? But he ain't going to pull his name from it, is he?
Well, then we got a show.
Or then I look like a total idiot, considering what I was thinking of, what I was texting you guys yesterday. It's going to be nasty, Nate, right?
From
I think
the
so.
Jailhouse to the outhouse.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for those jokes to happen. All right, 216-474-0092. How do you feel about Nate Shieldhouse? Because it seems to be he's going to be the head coach, everybody. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on the Fan.
Brett Evans here to help you beat.
Only be here for a limited time. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 1/30 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Catch the latest Browns news all off-season long. Stream us on the Odyssey app and on your smart speaker by telling Alexa to play 92.3 The Fan.
See, this is what sucks. I know the Browns have been hot on Nate Shieldhouse since the Tuesday after they let go of Kevin. Tuesday morning. After they let go of Kevin on Monday morning. And it's going to feel like it's process of elimination. Does it not?
It does.
This is, oh boy.
What's the problem, Ken?
Because you can't win for, you can't win for trying. You can't do anything for trying. They've had, whether or not you think Shieldhouse is going to be a great hire or not a great hire, but he already starts behind the 8 ball with the fans, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
I think
as of right now, maybe some hours will go by and some people will think differently of it and maybe they'll come around, but it just feels like he's behind the 8 ball with the fans. Like Udinski pulling his name out. Does it or does it not feel like, okay, now they're just going to go with the last guy who's young, who hasn't canceled them out, and they're going to hire him?
Yeah, look, it's
and I don't think that's fair
it's
to
gonna be
Shieldhouse.
And it already happened over the weekend. The Browns had already been getting almost universally ridiculed for this coaching search. It didn't help, as we said, by the fact that, hey, the day they fired Stefanski, it's like, all right, here's our competition, and then boom, Buffalo, boom, Baltimore, boom, Pittsburgh. Like, that obviously did not help. Despite what I say about Pittsburgh's situation, which I don't necessarily think is better than ours. Given all of that, they were going to get blasted either way. And I do wonder the amount of guys who have publicly now removed their name from the Browns in their search. Are these guys upset? Are their agents upset at the way the situation was handled? Because
maybe
it almost comes off as we're gonna kind of dig and twist that knife just a little bit more on the Browns' PR.
Yeah.
Because I don't normally see it to this extent.
But when you're 8-26 over the last 2 years, again, you don't get the benefit of the doubt.
But I wonder if they strung along candidates or rubbed the agents the wrong way throughout the process. In the end, it's not going to matter. They're going to hire one of the young guys that they were always going to hire, most likely.
This is what I think they were always. I think they were always hot on Shieldhouse. Again, from what everything we had just said, the Tuesday after they let go of Kevin, that Tuesday morning, we had received, well, I did, and then I told you, and then you blurted it out at the end of the show the next Wednesday, is that they were kicking around about Nate Shieldhouse. Okay, interesting. You knew it was going to be a name before. And now we're down to how many of these guys have pulled their name out, and then the other young guy, the 30-year-old, pulls his name out. So now it just feels like process of elimination. And I can't let you up because, see, if you would have had if you still have Andrew Berry, which you do, then it's going to feel like nobody wants to work with Andrew Berry, and no one's going to take the job that Andrew Berry has. So there's no way there's no way to make this look better. You're just going to have to deal with what it is and then go out and have to win football games. Because it feels like nobody worth a damn to a fan wants to work for Andrew Berry.
Well, listen, also...
Is it not true?
Also,
You're not denying any of that. That's how the fans feel.
I do wonder, I don't know, we don't talk to enough guys that are plugged in around various NFL teams to know what the true sentiment of Andrew Berry is. We always said throughout the year that, boy, it seemed like Andrew Berry always got high marks when people would talk about the organization. Not the winning and the losing, because there was always an asterisk by it's the Browns. And ownership and their issues of the past. So that always gets brought up. I'm just thinking, these guys are all repped by collectively 3 agents. I just think people have to understand, and I think they do, I think most Cleveland fans do, these agents prioritize, they go, all right, here are the candidates in our agency that could go work for the best jobs. Here's kind of the middle, and here's the up-and-comers that, hey, Browns are one of 32. Let's shock the world. And I think that's what we're in the territory of when it came down to Udinski and Shieldhouse. And I don't know what to say about Schwartz.
Well,
I have no idea.
I don't know. All I know is that all I believe strongly from the people I talk to is that If the Browns offer him, he'll probably take the job. Like 98% sure that Shieldhouse would take the job if they offer it today. Which somebody corrected me. Apparently, they flew out last night, so you can still get planes out of here unless they were going from Florida to L.A. I'm not sure where the hell. I don't know, man. I was in a coaching clinic for 2 days. I didn't understand. I didn't know where the planes were.
In your office.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not part of the FAA. I have no idea where their planes were going. So maybe they were in Florida and flew from Florida. But yeah, because they interviewed with Anthony Lynn, right? So they would have flown from Florida out to L.A. So they wouldn't have ran into
I wouldn't imagine they'd come back here at all.
Snow. Well, you have no idea what they plan and what they don't plan, but it'd be hard to get a plane out of here.
They have to come back here to do the press conference. You can't do the press conference anymore.
We're going to have to wait until we're not snowed in anymore. When the hell's that going to happen? We're going to have to wait until March to get a press conference around here.
Get some quick reaction.
216-474-0092. Mike and Stowe. I hope the calls are better because they have been a mess so far today. Hello, Mike.
Good morning, guys. Well, that breaking news really helped me when I'm sitting there waiting what I'm going to really go at. It's clear. So, like, who runs the interview process? Like Anthony's talking about, is this what the big issue is here with these people pulling out? This is all Andrew Berry. Every bit of it's Andrew Berry. The lack of roster is Andrew Berry. If there's any reason a coach or is thinking about leaving and not coming here, what other reasons why? It's because of the offense and how it's built, the line, the lack of receiving, and maybe a true quarterback, and Andrew Berry. Look how it's being run now. Why? At this point, we're already on fire. Just go ahead and fire him and just start the whole thing over from scratch because the whole league's telling us we can't. This is, we ain't going to get rid of the owner, obviously. So the only person that's in charge of this room right now has to be Andrew Berry. This whole process, it's garbage. Just prep can him right now.
So you want me to yell back at him, Tone? You want me to yell back at Mike?
No.
Okay. Because this is the reaction. This is the reaction. You asked for a reaction. This is the reaction. And Mike ain't going to be the only one.
I think it's going to be a lot of this today.
Clarence and Menor, you're next up on the fan. Hello, Clarence.
Good morning. First time, long time, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for listening for so long. Thank you for being a caller. Clarence, let it ride.
This is the worst job in the NFL. Nobody wants to say it, but it's the truth. The situation is terrible. We're back in Pettin and Chedvinsky and all these other one-year fools, right? I'm reconciled with the fact that we aren't going anywhere. We let Mike Vrabel out the building.
Mike wasn't good, but Clarence, Mike wasn't staying here.
He's a pretty big guy. Who could actually keep him? Who could restrain him from leaving the building? That's my question. Could security? I don't know.
No, not me. But I know for sure he'll be in San Francisco getting ready to enjoy a Super Bowl. I got one question for you, gentlemen, and it's real quick, and then I'll go. How come Byron Leftwich isn't getting any love and ain't getting any looks? He's a Super Bowl winner. He's from the Bruce Arians coaching tree. Black quarterback, so he knows the position. I'm just asking.
Well, Clarence, I wish I can't give you an answer. He wasn't on my list, so I didn't even think about him.
He's Prime's assistant this year?
Think so. Is he? Thought so. Well, if you're on that staff, I don't know if you're going to get a clear indication if you're on that staff. Apparently, from everybody saying that he wasn't going to be the coach, so isn't he going to bring his own guys?
You always wonder about that stuff. Like Byron Leftwich is a name.
If you are... If they're out there and it's 6:53 in the morning, do they play that and go, how do you respond to all those calls? Nate, we got one little part left of the interview here before I hand you the pen. I want to play you some audio here from the fans. This is what you're stepping into in Cleveland, Ohio.
But
I want you to...
It can't be that now that Grant Udinski pulled his name out, now people are upset. He's 30 years old and has never called plays.
Because they're seeing it as a person who should be begging for your job doesn't want your job. That's what they're hearing. That is what they're hearing when we tell them that. I have no argument against you. You and I could shake our heads all we want. I have no argument against them. They haven't won many games over the last couple of years.
Disappointed in you if you feel that way.
Okay, we can have that discussion tomorrow morning on The Fan. Big thanks to everybody who joined us today.
We'll have a new coach, Mike.
Daryl was great. We're back tomorrow 6 to 10. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Be careful shoveling that snow. Take some breaks. I heard you're supposed to warm yourself up before you go out there. It's the cold air that gets you. Have a wonderful day, friends. Take care.
But you clap.
Hey, sounds good.
Where's your entourage now?
Cool, I got on the last show.
Oh, boy.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Robinhood. Your money, your move. Super